Hello, this is Spotlight, recorded live here on GRAPPL Patreon. I'm Benno.
I'm JP.
I'm Joe. Good to be back.
we got to stop being like this, Joe. We got to stop jump scaring people with you. I think we should advertise you in the future. Get our money's worth. We've done a sting coming into AEW here rather than trying to sell the pay-per-view. Hopefully people are excited and happy to see you, mate.
Yeah, ECW stuff. Don't advertise it. Get the big pop lights out and carry on from there. Always my favourite sort of comeback there, unadvertised.
Pat says here, yeah, Rev Joe working more dates than Roman. Working more dates than Matty at this point, mate. We need to cut you in. I think that's what it was.
He was seriously working on Sunday, I tell you. You should have seen him, especially in that Weatherspoons on the
There's a few of our patrons and Discord people who were just like, which would be the first time maybe either meeting Matty or seeing Matty in action, and like heard tale before of Matty in action and what he's like when the wrestlers are around. But yeah, I mean, I've seen him like that with Jill Bates, Tyler Bates' mum. So anything goes when with big stars like Kip Sabian are knocking around.
Well, that was the weird thing. So when we arrived at that, whether it's like we're jumping right to the end of the show here, aren't we? We're just going to straight. But after we left the show, and we gone to the Weatherspoons, which were IDing everyone, including me.
Wow.
And I'm not far off 50 at this point. Like, I find that incredible. Like, I'll take it as a compliment. But he was in there, wasn't he? He was in there. He was like chatting to Megan Bain, and he was like sort of holding cool. And I was like, what the fuck has happened? Like in the time
she was enjoying the chat. To be fair to her,
she was.
Turned to bugger off. Seemed like she was fully into it. So, his Scouse charms were really working there. So fair play to it.
Was he selling her on? Was he telling her he needs to go to the Fed? He needs to she needs a WrestleMania moment? Like what was the nature of the conversation? That's what I want to know.
I see, this is the thing, is we'd all had a shandy by that point, and he had several shandies by that stage. So I couldn't tell you the ins and outs of the conversation. There'd be other people who would have perhaps heard it better than we would. The impression I got is Kip Sabian wanted people to go up to him so he could say, look, I'm just having a quiet drink after the show, just leave me be. But that didn't appear to happen. They were just like, oh, it's Kip Sabian. And then people just moved past him. Am I right in that, Joe? That seemed to be the impression I got.
I think I just saw him walking through the pub and was like, oh, it's Kip Sabian. Like you said, JP, it wasn't a big deal. Unless you're Matty Edwards and seeing a wrestler in the flesh is, the biggest deal in the world. Still, I always think of when he met Jeff Jarrett. I think Matty. And Jeff Jarrett, he took such a shine to Matty that didn't he take a picture with him? And then he wasn't taking pictures of people three, and then we got a picture with Jeff as well as a result of Matty.
Yeah. We got 2 free photos out of Jeff. We just bundled Jeff, and you were going greatest NWA champion, world champion of all time.
I'd like to see someone disagree with that, JP. Surely he's your favorite NWA champion.
Yeah, spiritually, yeah, exactly. He's
I want the scene set here because, obviously, me not being there this weekend, I was obviously devastated. It's the closest I've come to being homesick. I'll be totally honest. Seeing all yous meet up and stuff like that. It looked like there were more people in that Weatherspoons than at the Vince McMahon's birthday brunch he had the other day. But a better class of people, I will say, in the room. What did I see? I was like fucking. Who was there? It was like Bruce Pritchard, Sheamus, R-Truth. John Cena. Who else was there? Oh, it was a who's who of bastards. JBL. He was one that was there. All the people you imagine are probably still close with Vince. They turned up to his birthday brunch. Apparently, it was his 80th birthday.
Was it a public event?
New York. It wasn't public. It was like a private thing. I'll have to find the name of the. Somebody in the chat let us know where it was. It was like a bar, or it was like I'm imagining a social club because I can't imagine. Vince McMahon seems to love New York, but he's not getting the fucking. He's not on the underground, is he? He's not getting the buses. He's just getting chauffeured door to door. But even then, I can't picture him walking from the limo to whatever venue it is. I assume it's not some hipster dive in Brooklyn or something.
Well, didn't he used to get a limo there every week to get his hair cut or something?
That's how he's in.
Yeah, so I think he's maybe he did an event in the barber shop they used to go to, hired that out for the evening. He's not in there. Maybe he's still loyal to the barber. Maybe they've not cancelled him. I don't know.
It's like Sheamus being there. It's is he just thankful that he ever gave him a shot? Is it you go when I wasn't ready in the 2010s, you took he's hidden in plain sight there, reckon JP Sheamus. He's not one. It's on the usual Vince McMahon list. Apparently getting invites.
What day was this?
I agree.
Was that over the
Kid Rock was
weekend?
there? Maybe Trump was there. Yeah, I think it was. It was his 80th on like Saturday. I think it was something like that.
Did you say Kid Rock was there?
I'm not sure. Was it only? It says here in the chat, he played.
And ACDC played live.
ACDC played live for him. What? ACDC? How much did you fucking pay for that? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, they're as old and as, ragged as Vince at this stage. I'm not sure what ACDC are like. Last time I heard about ACDC playing live, Axl Rose was singing for him, and his voice went years. So, was Axl Rose there, or is Brian Johnson over his... didn't he have throat cancer, the lead singer from ACDC?
Nothing
sure he did. Bloody hell.
Yeah, no Axl Rose there. I'm just looking now. Yeah, his 80th birthday party. Seen it a lavish party attended by Hall of Famers. Yeah, John Cena was there. Just says New York. I don't know what bar it was. Like John Cena, Sheamus, R-Truth, Undertaker, and Michelle McCool turned up. Of course they did. Kane turned up. Of course he did. Right wing Glenn. The smartest man in the room, allegedly. Nope, just turned out he was a Republican. That's what it was. Or what are they called? Libertarians. He's one of them, many. Shane McMahon was there. I'm surprised Shane and Vince have made up. I'm surprised Shane's there getting an invite to the cookout. Sergeant Slaughter there as well. Jerry Briscoe, of course, going down with the fucking ship. Typical.
I mean, it's getting... Sorry, go on.
No, go on, JP, please.
I was just going to say, like, would it surprise you? He probably had Rose West do a fucking video, like, birthday message on the screen as well. I'm fond of bringing Rose West up quite a lot on here these days, Joe. But, like, you'd expect that level of, like, kind of, like, person to be ringing in. Just like criminals, like they would just ring up as well, wouldn't they? Like,
when I was in South Dakota earlier this year, and when I was looking at the map, I did a few places in one day, and I saw Sturgis was close to where I was, so I was like, I've got to go to Sturgis. So I tried to explain what Sturgis was to my wife, and it was lost. And I obviously drove to Sturgis, rode a little lap around Sturgis, got a picture by the Sturgis sign. And look for any signs of it's everywhere, this whole bike festival. But this year, the headliners at Sturgis, won't surprise you, Jelly Roll and Kid Rock. So if Kid Rock's gone from the White House to Sturgis to Vince's birthday, it's quite a little triple threat that he's put together there, isn't it, really?
Oh, they can't travel in packs this lot, don't they? I'm just looking, by the way, like, typical fucking... like, it feels like this is a We the Baddies situation. It took place at Gotham Hall in New York, Vincent Mann's birthday party, which just feels like it's like the fucking Penguin. It's like, what's going on? It's in Midtown. It's a loft in Midtown.
Considering how the alt-right and even JD Vance and some of these developers are using all of these Batman terms and talking about, like, isn't there some AI called Gotham something or other? And I keep hearing about lawless London and all the rest of it as well from these alt-right commentators. So maybe there's something going on there with this right-wing thing. Who knows?
I had that. I was telling these on a Patreon show. Like, I walked into like a bar when I was in Vietnam, and there was just a group of like Australian lads, and one of them was like, "Oh yeah, he's from England." He went, "Oh, England, or do you mean Islamabad?" And I was like, "Right, well, I'm leaving here. I'm just walking out." That's what you get, isn't it, from like these types of girls? It's like, honestly, just fucking. That's the type of group I could imagine Vince knocking around with. But yeah, Gotham Hall. Not one of my old ones. JP. I don't know what was more shocking seeing that this week. We're seeing. Did you see? Sorry, we're going old spotlight here. Did you see Sami Zayn turned up to I was watching the Newcastle game last night. I was in like a fucking. I was in the proper bad part of Bangkok, to be honest. The Nana Plaza. It's the Bangkok you imagine. You know, lots of certain ladies and boys of the night knocking around on the streets. You know, cockroaches everywhere. Horrible old. Speaking of which, greying Englishmen knocking around trying to get a touch of the girls and stuff. But it was the one place that was still open. I was showing like the Newcastle Liverpool game. I had a fucking boss time. Like, it was great because I've said this to JP a few times, Joe. I don't know what it is, but like almost everyone you bump into here supports Liverpool. So like all of the bar staff like cheering on Liverpool, except for like this one bloke there who was supporting Newcastle, and I wasn't having a great night of it. But I did see it on the telly, and fucking Sami Zayn popped up in the crowd with Pac, and I was sat there at like 3 a.m. in this bar in Bangkok, being like, "Am I having a fever dream here? Is that really him?" But like, they showed it on the Sky Sports stream. Like, I was like,
did they say Sami Zayn? Did they say that, or did they just show him on?
Oh no. They were just showing the crowd. They were just like, it's just some blokes there, and like not realizing obviously he's there with Pac as well next to him, and as a bandana. I guess they'd be an AEW in the country at the same time, aren't they?
Proper Forbidden Door. The Forbidden Door just is at St James's Park.
Good
Sami
venue
Zayn back in the Saudis to the end, didn't he? You know,
Mate, I'd kill for an event at St James's. That'd be great. Weekend in Newcastle. Like, no one needs to speak to Tone about that. I don't know what relations are like between Fulham and Newcastle when they're boards. I don't know if Fulham want to get involved with the Saudis. But I tell you what, a weekend in Newcastle. JP, that's a great idea. Really good idea.
Should be doing that. I mean, it looked like Pac was wearing... Was he wearing a do-rag? Is that what?
Yeah, he looked like he was, yeah. He was incognito. I saw a few fans taking pictures with Sami Zayn, not many with Pac.
That's arguably some of the most less incognito headwear he could have worn that night, outside of just like a baseball cap as well. But Sami Zayn turned up on Raw recently with a Bohemian shirt on, the Oasis ones that was.
He's one of them. I said to you, like, when again, a lot of catching up to the Joe, but when I was in Toronto, like, we were at, Davey and Braden, who do Poison Rana with Post, we were at, like, their event, and, like, I was talking to this Canadian guy from Montreal who had the ginger beard and was very into, like, wanting to talk to you about football, and he was just like, oh, yeah, no, that Everton are good, aren't they? Who's their manager? Is it David Moyes? Turns out it is David Moyes now, but he was definitely wrong on the night, and it was just one of them, where it was, like, one of those, like, Canadian/Americans where you're just a bit like, all right, nice one, mate, I'll move on later, and only found out later in the evening when Davey was sat fourth row at the pay-per-view night that night that it turned out to actually be Sami Zayn's brother, who was just, I can't believe I didn't put it together, like, annoying bloke from Montreal with a ginger beard who's got a little sideline in footy. Of course he was going to be related to Sami Zayn, but he seemed the type, tourist fan.
With his at the time dated knowledge regarding Everton, which would now be current knowledge, I sort of wonder if him and Sami Zayn got something in common. What was Sami Zayn's 95 through 97, I think, Newcastle?
Yeah.
He was around the crowd there. So I was thinking to myself, is Sami Zayn like big on the sort of golden years, the Sir John Hall years? Is he still celebrating Shearer's 15 million signing? Is he a big fan of Darren Peacock and Philippe Albert at centre back? Does he cheer on Warren Barton on the Fox Soccer Channel over in the US?
I love what I see.
On Beresford. I can keep on going with the Newcastle squad during that period. Pavel Srnicek, as he is. Would he get in his all-time Newcastle 11 as the keeper, maybe? When I saw the shirt, I thought to myself, golden years for Newcastle, those, Sammy. Must have been watching from afar in Canada, I'm assuming. So I'd like to see 4 free games against Liverpool and Kevin Keegan, if he's ever willing to come on here and speak about it. That could be a whole series in itself. Classic football with Sami Zayn.
Open invite, JP?
I'd be well up for that. And in fairness,
shirts.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And if he's like, I mean, what I like about it is that immediately he's probably thought to himself, well, it's Liverpool, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a lively game with a few goals. And he'd be right. He would have seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just hope he was. I just hope he was kicking off somewhat at various points at the referee, as I've seen from lots. Mate, I don't know. Maybe he's round there to give Alexandra Isak some abuse afterwards as well, along with a few other fans in the meantime. But,
Devlin did that, didn't he, at the Fed House show? Like, if it wasn't Devlin, I would have been into it. But he had like I think we wore a Liverpool shirt with Isak number 9 on the back of it, like for heat. Which not a terrible, better than Bully Ray turning up to use it as a babyface tool. Or to be honest, there's more Liverpool and United supporting footballers than anything. So I'll take it an additional Newcastle one. I've seen MVP doing that for Heat. Who else have we seen? Eddie Kingston. He came to Liverpool. He did like a show out here more at came out to You'll Never Walk Alone. Came out in a Liverpool shirt and stuff as well, just for the babyface show.
I can remember they made Stacey Keebler wear a Man United shirt at the MEN Arena.
Oh yeah,
20 years ago, and she got booed out the building. That's complete misery to the room on that day.
Yeah, all the Scousers have come down on the train. That's usually the way those shows go. But yeah, I had a good night anyway watching it. I went to watch Nobody 2 in the cinema, or what was it titled here? Ordinary People in Hell Call Me Brother, I think it was called in the the title. I guess it's a good. To be fair, it's a good turn. It feels deep, that, doesn't it? Ordinary People in Hell Call Me Brother. But that was the name of it. It was subtitled, so I did get to see it. But Liverpool game Newcastle was more cinema than going to see that.
There's translation and there's translation, and that one seems to have gone excessively in the other route.
Just out of words.
Yeah, it's just added on a load. Ordinary man lives in hell. It's like, okay, all right, you've. I don't know if isn't he meant to be on holiday or something in this one? Yeah,
he's like on a family trip. It's one of those films where like the first half of it's quite good, and then the second half feels like chopped within an inch of its life. Like there's loads of scenes where the camera's shooting from behind, and like there's dialogue that's very clearly been added in post, and it's just a weird rushed half hour with like Sharon Stone's character doing loads of stuff that she definitely didn't plan on doing in the first hour. It's a it's a weirdly it's a Netflix film. Watch it on Netflix. Don't go to the cinema. It was one of the few English language films that were on. It was that or F1. That was my choice, Joe. Don't judge me as a fellow letterbox snob.
Weapons isn't out in Thailand. I'm assuming that.
So.
If you get Weapons, I went to see that today, and it was awesome. So if that gets released, there, definitely go. And a woman was trying to hitchhike on the way back. Actually, I was like, I've not seen a hitchhiker in years. Some 50-year-old woman stuck her hand out, and I was like, what's going on here? And I stopped at a traffic light, and she was edging up towards my car again. I was like, this is weird. Hitchhiking in 2025.
It's a big thing on Instagram. Like there's like hipster, it's like digital nomads. There's like a hipster, like hitchhiking kind of scene where they'll make like Instagrams. Like there's that. Have you not seen that bloke who's doing? He hitched like from Southampton to South Africa. Tim, I think his name is on Instagram. Yeah. So maybe it was him or like somebody with him, knocking around. You could give him a like, can't see mum and dad.
She actually could have been my mum, to be honest. Well into her 50s, this woman. She had quite dodgy footwear on. It did look a bit worn, so maybe she has been doing a similar trip. Maybe she's been going the other way, possibly. Who knows?
Yeah, working backwards. Could be that. There you go. That's what all the kids are doing. Get a camera, you blog it. You can make anything content these days.
Oh, just smuggling into other countries. I mean, it just seems fraught with danger. Then putting it up on social media afterwards. In the current political climate, it feels like you're asking somewhat for trouble, aren't you? Particularly when you rock up at a Holiday Inn, as has been happening around Oxfordshire as well. You wouldn't have noticed it. There's weird things like there's a lot of St. George's Cross being painted on roundabouts, which I don't understand at all.
And motorway bridges. Every single motorway bridge.
It's a whole thing, isn't it? It's my uncle on one side of my family is very big on stuff like that on Facebook. It's a problem. But I was going to say, I should ask you, like, how you weekend went, I suppose. Saying that we should plug first, we should throw out the plugs for, obviously, Joe being here. We had him on, if you haven't seen it, we had him on the Patreon last week. Free for everyone. Called it Rev Joe in Japan in the end, Joe. I went with your full title. That's out there. I got some pelters, though, from some people who were very wanting to know more about your food hijinks while you're out there. They wanted to know the scran in Japan, which we didn't get into in the end on that one. We went too on topic, hence this intro today. But great recap of your trip to Japan anyway. It was a nice little bonus.
Now, quick. Do you want that now?
Go on, what's your scran in Japan?
Well, variety of all sorts. The first thing I would say is I went to an okonomiyaki restaurant in Hiroshima, a Hiroshima special, and I told a few people this on the weekend. When I walked in the door, someone had Los Ingobernables hat on, and I went, Los Ingobernables. She went, I was like, yeah. She went, pointed to the owner and was like, Naito, best friend. I was like, oh, cool. So then me and the owner ended up having a chat in broken English about wrestling, where we basically said wrestler names. And I told him my favorite Japanese wrestlers. And then after mentioning some old Japanese wrestlers, he went, All Japan. Yeah. Very good. And then he told me at the invitation that Naito was apparently, maybe this is an exclusive, hopefully this doesn't happen, signing for AEW. And I was thinking, fucking hope not. That was a whole thing. And there was
so far that hasn't come through. I did leak that on a Patreon show at one point. I didn't give me source away, but there you go. There's my source. It's Joe.
Here's the source right here. Naito's best friend is the source. Go to his okonomiyaki restaurant in Hiroshima, or maybe don't. It wasn't. I did have better while I was out there. I got to say, it was a bit rich for my taste, and my wife wasn't too impressed either. What else do I? Oh, fuck me! The best. I think the best food I've had in my mouth ever. I had Wagyu beef on 2 occasions. Once in this like kind of bar place in Kyoto. That was different level. Chatting to an Aussie bloke about Speedway and how he got mugged in Harajuku in Japan as well. And I was thinking, who'd you get mugged by? Interesting. Single bloke in his 50s in an area with lots of prostitutes. Probably should have been in Thailand, Benno, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. We don't have Yakuza here, though, so it's not as dangerous.
Yeah, there you go. And then I went, loads of Yakuza there. They run everything. And then I went to the place from Kill Bill 2, like the restaurant from Kill Bill 2. Nice. Or Tarantino based like the set on this restaurant. And that was different level. The atmosphere was incredible. The sushi was amazing that we had. The Wagyu was just on a completely different planet. What I did find weird about that, though, is I think I might have showed JP this the other day. They had like pics of celebs in the doorway as going in. And the one I found really odd. So in the doorway, you got Sylvester Stallone, right? You got John Travolta. Then you got Bill Murray. So you're thinking, Lost in Translation. Of course, you like Ed Sheeran over here. Yeah. Then John Mayer. Then next to Bill Murray, who is probably the US actor or Hollywood actor who's made the most kind of landmark film in Japan, I would say, from a Western perspective. So next to Bill Murray, right, you've got Jimmy Carr. Jimmy Carr. Is Jimmy Carr big in Japan? Like, really? But then I'm going to the toilet and I'm going through this corridor and just shoved in a corridor, picture of Tarantino. And I'm thinking, this bloke is the reason I'm here right now. And I'm sure a lot of other people come here. And he's in a fucking corridor. And some bloke has got a funny laugh and avoided his taxes back in the day, gets a prime spot in the corridor, below Stallone, below Travolta, and next to Bill Murray. Like, what? What's going on?
Jimmy Carr's like one of them where it's like, I don't feel the same, JP, on the Blue Light app. I'm just constantly bombarded with free Jimmy Carr tickets. Like, he doesn't want to go home. Yeah. Like, he's just constantly touring. But he's not selling either. Like, who's the audience? Like, I see his videos on Facebook. They pop up, TikTok. They pop up all the time and stuff. Like, but it's just like, I guess he's just so embedded as like a household name that he's still a draw. Maybe the Japan World Tour, like Oasis. Maybe that's what
But his shtick has always been about, like, offensive jokes. So, like, what kind of, like, how offensive are these jokes going to end up being if he's out there in Japan as well? And I think there's a whole set of, it feels like a recipe for disaster, him being on, like, being big in Japan. It feels like he would end up, like, he would just end up upsetting people within the first 5 minutes of his act and leaving, let alone the translation issues that would otherwise happen in there as well. Which it's just fucking bizarre for that being the case. I did take students on a trip the day that he was recording it was weird at the BBC studio. He's recording 8 out of 10. He was 8 out of 10
countdown in it now.
Oh yeah, but he was recording that, and he, like, the day after the tax stuff came out. So all that stuff was happening. We were watching him, but we didn't get anywhere close to him either. Yeah.
It's like Peter Kay. Inexplicably, people still go, you know, even though, like, he looks like a different human at this point, Peter Kay, and he's still, I saw a thing today, he's just still singing, like, 80s, like, songs from adverts and stuff like that. Actually sounds good. I might go watch it. But, you know, these, once the famous, aren't they? It's like the comics who it's like, it's a easy Christmas present, isn't it? Or an easy Mother's Day present. It's like, fuck it. My mum laughed at one of his jokes once, I'll buy his tickets. I feel like it's an entire cottage industry built on that. Maybe it's the same out there.
Selling out this venue behind, which isn't a photo I took, by the way.
Wonder if he's done the Tokyo Dome.
Stream doesn't have Peter Kay doing the Tokyo Dome.
Oh no, I'm a Jimmy Carr, but could be.
Either or doing the Tokyo Dome. Well, you'll hopefully be there soon enough, won't you?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Joe for tips. So Wagyu steak, that's what I need to get in there, and wrestling bars. That's what I've learned.
And also to finish it off, I could talk for hours about the food, but I'll keep it short. After dinner every night, me and my wife did a medley, and we also met this Spanish brother and sister who were hanging out in Hiroshima, and they were coincidentally doing the same as we were. We would go to 7-Eleven every evening and do a grab bag of the weird snacks, like dessert-based snacks. So I tried all sorts from 7-Eleven. You're talking Japanese-style chocolate eclairs, some cream puffs. What else did I have? A bit of Japanese cheesecake, which was interesting. Occasionally the odd Japanese ice cream, which I gotta say, there's some cracking frozen ice creams. Like no shit like, I don't know, Twisters, or I've got a soft spot for a fab. We weren't finding the fab. You were getting these fuck off ice creams. Honestly, that was great. The
7-Eleven's always the best.
Yeah,
I was telling you off air. Like, my local 7-Eleven here in Bangkok's just like full of Ovaltine stuff. So like JP had overdose if he was out here. There's like literally there's like Ovaltine like ice creams. There's Ovaltine chocolate. There's Ovaltine flavors of literally everything. I don't know. Again, like Jimmy Carr in Tokyo, maybe there was a big Ovaltine thing in Bangkok at some point over the years, but yeah, you wouldn't get back home. 7-Eleven's the one though. It's the same here. You can go in, you can get like a nice little toasty, you can get some noodles. So, is it the same in Tokyo? They'll do the hot water for you. You can have it like a pot noodle satin store. You know, that's classic stuff. You know, it's always the one.
Seoul was big on that as well. Well, actually, they had a lot of sit-in space where people were having their ramens and bento boxes inside. Yeah. But generally pretty good. I was going to say on the subject of live events, the band I was disappointed weren't in the corridor when it came to the steakhouse I was talking about was JP's new favourite band, Scouting for Girls. They weren't there, JP.
They weren't there. No, I did.
Just to give you some experience.
So, yeah, I impromptu went to a Scouting for Girls gig last night as well. It was. Do you know what it was?
Last night was a Tuesday spotlight. I see.
It was because there was a food festival on, and it had Blue playing on the Sunday, which Vicky went to. This is the same one.
They've got some hits.
This is the same one that Top Loader played 2 years ago, and I was there for. And they played Dancing in the Moonlight twice as well, like because he just thought start with it, end with it. Very little in between, apart from there's one other song of theirs I like, the Achilles Heel, that no one else knows. Like apart from that, that's all they would do. But I didn't know a single Scouting for Girls track. But people there, they were loving it, absolutely loving it, going into it as well. I was sat there with these free things that they were giving out there as well, which I will be drinking during the show. And and it was like a little bit of food. Out the door by about out of the park, I should say, by about 7:45. So I was like,
I know their audience.
I was
bedtime's early.
Yep, I was suffering. I was suffering from getting back at 5 a.m. the night before from the epic trip, which feels like if we can get a chance to go into the post, like getting away from the venue stuff that me and Joe had to endure, i.e. the horror that is Victoria Station if you're looking to get a bite to eat on a Sunday. Not a fucking shopping site, apart from one of the worst Starbucks, 24-hour Starbucks at Victoria Coach Station that was there. Just like, which, Joe, you went to, you did the Lord's work, and and got back in time. We were able to eat a tuna panini.
Tuna panini at, what was it, 2 a.m., 2:25 a.m. on the Oxford Tube after a 50-minute wait because we just missed one. It was bleak. McDonald's closed at 1 a.m. The two McDonald's in Victoria closed at 1. There was not, I used to know because there were many a drunken night between 2010 and 14 when I'd get a late night coach back from Victoria talking till 4 in the morning. And there were 2 newsagents I knew of that were open till late at night. Get yourself a samosa, bag of McCoys, big chocolate bar if you fancied. Perfect accompaniment for the drunken trip home. They went years ago. And there's now a play-to-win slot machine placed in place of one of them that was open when we went past. So if you wanted to do some late-night slots, you could pop in and play the Fruities at 4 in the morning, or 2 in the morning in this case. But if you wanted a bag of McCoys, you were fucked. You had to walk for miles to get one. And I found a Starbucks at Victoria Coach Station that happened to be open 24-hour. And, God, we were slamming it, weren't we, JP, with a tuna panini and a bag of kettle chips. It wasn't fun. It was, to quote you, JP, do a job, and it barely did that.
Yeah. It gave me enough energy to cycle home from Oxford to Abingdon without dying, really.
I've been in that situation before. I've been stuck around Euston where you're just assuming there'll be like some kind of great food you could get or great snack you could get, and it's literally you're going through the vet, the same as I think Gareth and Matty was saying it on GRAPPL. You end up like going through like the vendor machines to end up like getting a packet of crisps or something like that. That's as good as you're getting. Where you think it'd be wall to wall takeaways, everywhere for such occasions.
We went to the vending machine in Victoria Coach Station. We were like, I don't want Starbucks. I need maybe Starbucks at 7 a.m. when I've woken up, not 2 a.m. when I need something to get down me because I'm drunk. Went to the vending machine. The vending machine was full of electrical goods, sleep-based goods, like, those like things you put around your neck on a flight. And then it had like health food bars, like sort of nut bars and protein bars. I was thinking to myself, like, who are they trying to appeal to here? Like, it felt like they were trying to appeal to, I don't know, all the bloody bros in the manosphere getting their protein products.
Healthy truckers.
Honestly, I was just
wanted to pack a monster munch.
Oh, yeah, I was not impressed. Yeah, bag of Monster Munch, bag of Disco, something like that. Classic vending machine fare. This, in the centre of London at 2 a.m. was not classic vending machine fare. I don't know who the fuck the audience was for that vending machine.
Rough. I believe it wasn't any better at the show either. Matty and Gareth. By the way, people should listen to Joe in Japan on the Patreon, but also GRAPPL lads went up with Gareth and Matty giving their alternative take from a bed somewhere in London on Sunday morning. But they were saying the same thing. They just didn't eat all day because it was just like you took one look at it inside like the O2, and it was like, what was it, like $9.50 or something like that for a pint? I think Andy Ogden was saying like 12 quid for like some chicken tenders type stuff. It's like just a fucking waste in it. I say this sat up a perch here in Bangkok, but what a fucking shit country we got, lads. I fucking hate it. Like I'm never coming back. Like when I see those prices.
It was we were lucky because the way that we did it is we ended up. So we were at the show with Cooper. We were at the show with Cooper, and then we met up with Cooper and Joe's mate Bud as well beforehand.
15 for the tenders. 15. Yeah. That'd be a week's food for me. Yeah.
Nah.
I got a whole Domino's. Like I got 2-for-1 pizzas and 2 chicken tenders for like £4 or something like that for my.
Shocking.
They sent me 42 sachets of ketchup, which I did post on the Discord as well. But bonus, you can get extras when you're out here. Jesus, you're not getting that in there.
You have to buy a bottle for a while, mate. Keep using them.
We went for a big. We had like a big burger before we went to the brewery that Matty was talking about, and the one that Joe had pointed out was it Anne's Back. And I can't think of the other second.
Holiday, I think. Yeah.
Holiday with a really lovely porter that they had on tap. It was just like it was absolutely fucking lush. And so we had that because we didn't. It almost feel like we're spoiling a little bit of the review. We arrived like 10 minutes before the main show started, so we didn't have any of the issues in terms of like queuing and stuff like that getting into the O2 that everyone else had. Like that, all that stuff appeared to be like kind of like nightmarish when you heard about it. It's just like ridiculously long, unless you were lucky and they just opened up a queue there. So we were just like, we'll have a couple of pints, even sort of taking a glance at the Fulham Man U game, and then just think to myself, I bet Tone's kicking himself here that he's got this show going on the same weekend. And that if you had any
he was out in front of the
fixtures,
crowd when United scored. He was fuming.
I
wonder if Oj Hart had to give him the score.
He'd have been all right with a 1-1 draw. He'd have taken that at the start of the game as well. And Emil Smith Rowe as well doing the business, which is always nice to see. I'd have been happy about it. But yeah, we were able to eat before we went in there, and it did a job up to the point we left and it was like shit, hungry again. Saw Jeff ordering a pizza in Wetherspoons, and I was like, he had the smart idea of getting that one.
I don't know why I didn't think of that in hindsight. Like when we were on that coach and you told me that, I was thinking, why on earth did we not order food in the Wetherspoons? Rookie error that. I think I was too interested in the drink at that point, to be honest with you. And there was no thought going into what was needed. I just assumed the McDonald's would be open in Victoria. It used to be. I'm sure it used to be open until 2-3 in the morning. That McDonald's. Don't know what happened to that.
It's a funny, and I don't know if you. How do you guys feel about the O2 as a venue as well? Because
I'll be honest,
because I hate that stuff, but the sight lines I thought were tremendous. So.
It's a nightmare. Like from the reports I saw, people like you did the smart thing if you got there that late, because it is a nightmare because there's one tube station, to get in and out kind of thing, and like the queues afterwards look like a nightmare. It's the same when I went to CWB. Like me, Matty, and Steph ended up going to the All Bar one, I think it is, upstairs, and having a couple of pints there and just let it kind of blow over. So it's good from that perspective, but it's no Wembley or no like going the Copper Box, obviously, and you have like all the choice of like craft beer places and stuff nearby. Like it's down my list. It feels like it's just literally it's like you get the tube there, and then it's venue and nothing else, and you've got a lot of other shops and restaurants in the venue, but you're kind of I guess it's a bit like Wembley in that regard. You're in like this fake plastic town, aren't you? And you're kind of stranded there if you go there too early.
I think that's the idea of it, though, isn't it? It's, the O2 for me peaked and will always be the Millennium Dome. I'll always see it and refer to it as the Millennium Dome. And I was thinking about it as a work of infrastructure when I was there. But also, I think you could probably see it as one of New Labour's greatest achievements. But unfortunately, it was an achievement in commerce rather than an achievement in anything else, really, wasn't it? And an achievement
in... It was big, though, wasn't it, at the time? Tabloids fucking loved it.
Say it again.
It was big at the time, wasn't it? Tabloids fucking loved it. It was front page news constantly. Like the latest on the Millennium Dome and the budget and stuff.
Did you go? to the Millennium Dome? Did you visit?
Not when it was then. No. Oh, for WWE 2 years ago was the first time I actually went there.
Okay, so you never went and saw the dome as itself, and it was basically, I don't know what it was. I went, but yeah,
James Bond fodder. That's what it was.
Yeah, and I guess at EastEnders as well. Grant's last episode when when the car goes in at the Millennium Dome, that was good as well.
Yeah,
classic to be honest. But no, I was going to say, my memory of the Millennium Dome will always be as well. Do you remember the Survivor Series where Austin gets Triple H in the car and in the forklift and throws him off?
Yeah.
I watched the morning I went to the Millennium Dome. I watched that before I went because I think it was the night before. So I got up really early and ran to the main event, and then we went to the Millennium Dome day. And I remember me and my brother couldn't get out of our heads the whole day. Like all we were talking about. Fucking hell, is he going to be dead? Like, is he going to be on Raw tonight? I think Triple H sold it for a week, from what I remember. But yeah, it sticks in my head.
Sounds like him.
I remember that he came back bigger than ever, didn't he? It was like when he was proper on the stag, and he just like, I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. That's how we're selling this. I forgot that was all linked to that. Jesus, that was then.
With the Millennium Dome, Simon writes here in the comments like being slated as a white elephant. I was telling Joe about this. The story always is that they didn't treat the journalists like they didn't basically kind of completely glad hand them and like give them all sorts. So as a result, the journos were pissed off, and therefore they just like kind of like started slagging it off. And then as soon as that happened, it's like what the thought process was has kind of snowballed.
Plus labor in it, you can ping off them and stuff like for that rightly and impress, easy.
Yeah, exactly. For that. Instead, now it's this particular venue, really, isn't it? Although the last time I was there before this, I was walking across the fucking roof. Which is someone with vertigo was a little bit.
I still can't believe you did that. That's amazing.
No,
Darby Allin needed to follow your plan, mate. He needs to.
Vicky was meant to do it, and then found out she was pregnant. She's like, I can't do this. So I ended up doing it with Vicky's sister and her fiance, and wandered across. And you can see London City Airport. The views were nice. Don't get me wrong, but instead, what they've done with it here in terms of this is a venue, because it's a weird venue for like the setup, because there's one of the sides isn't up as raised as the other one, which is the side that's got that had the screen on it and stuff like that. But you could see where they added in the seats. I don't know if you want to talk about, because they announced the attendance as 18,992. We did see there was like a row on the hard cam side where they'd left those seats blank. And that was one of the ones that was being picked up by some people who want those bad faith arguments of, oh, look, they didn't sell out of these empty seats. It's like, no,
the gate in it, not clicker.
Yeah,
I mean, it's even me to say watching it on the telly thousands of miles away, but it looked like the WWE at the O2. Like, if anything, I'm surprised WWE didn't inflate like their numbers there. Like, I think I don't know what I believe. Like, has Tony Khan joined the WWE and like making up numbers? Because I can't imagine it was that many more. It's like 2,000 more than WWE. Like, I don't think so. Like, I doubt it. I feel like they probably beat WWE by like a couple of hundred, definitely. And I'm sure Matty was crying tears over it, but I'm not sure I believe the kayfabe number, which is a shame if we're getting into that business. But then there's probably like somebody's writing to the council now, aren't they? And we'll find out if it was like the clickers, or it included like people backstage, or it included like blue light and discounts like that. So there'll be a way it's true. It just doesn't feel like it was that many in the building.
Yeah, it was a bit weird when they announced that number, because it was almost like it's a bit too high. If you'd announced just over 18,000, it would have seemed more credible, considering it was like 17,500 when we did the preview of it. It was like, okay, so they're going to beat this, but it's not going to beat it by a whole lot, because because you could see where they'd added on some extra seats on the floor. So some of those, like, kind of the seating just felt a lot longer as much as anything, and a lot more up the kind of like ramp way. But it didn't seem like it was that degree of it. So when Chris Platt here in the chat is calling bullshit on it, I kind of have to agree. It felt like it was an inflated number, which I really hope that's not the route they go down.
Like Andy said, maybe they included all the people in the Wetherspoons, all the people, the staff, all the All Bar One staff, get them into.
Mamma Mia Live as well, going on that night in one of the other venues. Met some women. Mamma Mia Live afterwards, didn't we, JP? They were well impressed with Powerhouse Hobbs outside the Wetherspoons. Maybe they were included.
They had no idea who he was. They didn't know anything about this wrestling. Like, they come out of Mamma Mia Live. They all have these like halo things on their heads, and then they was like, he's a really nice bloke. Honestly, he's really nice. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to call him a cunt to his face. Look at the fucking size of him, love. Like, I mean, like he literally ripped me in half. Get away with it. His arm is bigger than me. Like
he feels like one of them hobs though. Like anytime I've ever been to an AEW show in America or at Wembley, you see him like 5 times a day. He's constantly going around. Like I think he's one of them ones who there's wrestlers who want to get spotted, who want you to stop and have a chat, and I feel like he's one of them. I think he's in that group.
I think he was on the hook, in all honesty. Like these women were well impressed with him. Like I was chatting to one of these women about Pierce Brosnan at one point as well, and I described him as the smoothest man of his age that's ever existed in Mamma Mia, and she disagreed with me in a big way, and then quickly moved on to Powerhouse Hobbs. So I think I got her type wrong. I'm totally honest with you, but she was well impressed of him, like well impressed. But nice. he was nice enough to take some pictures, wasn't he, JP?
We did. We completely like killed his vibe for that scenario potentially by just all bundling in and Gareth going powerhouse like there's just like
mate. I think them women were more impressed because we were taking the pictures with him. That got they were like, oh okay, like there was a bit more intrigue there because we were treating him like he was a star. So actually, if anything, I think we helped him out.
Well, we never followed him home, so we don't really know what the outcome of all of that was for him as well. I mean,
was it the same story with Ulf Herman, JP? Did they have the same factor?
I mean, Ulf was that was the one like wrestler. I was like, oh, Ulf Herman, yeah, cool. Frontiers of Honor, St. Valentine's Day Massacre in '98. I was like, mate, I saw you then. He went, I was like, oh, and Frontiers of Honor. And he's like, oh, and the Keita dived off the fucking off the top fucking balcony. I was like, yeah, and he just went, did you see my daughter wrestle? And I didn't have the heart to say, actually, for that match, I went to the fucking bar. So like, I was like, yeah. 17 months you've been wrestling. I'm cool. Like I just thought I was going to say, just tell him not to sign with anyone, which is probably he's giving her the direct opposite advice if he's got a brain. He's like, nice enough. He was there with Phil Jones having a chat about old British wrestling.
Was this the Wetherspoons? Because I feel like
Spoons.
Yeah, Ulf Herman's never walked into a building and been that over. Because, like, I saw pictures with you with him, Liam, Andy Ogden got a picture with him, like, Kieran got a picture with him. Like, he must have been like, am I a bigger star in the UK than I thought? Like, Ben Britt Reserway Days was in there, got a picture with him. It just happened to be that collection of people all knew who Ulf Herman was. He could have gone into any other pub in London. He wouldn't have been recognised once, would he? But in that pub, he was probably thinking, maybe, 1PW must have been bigger than I remember, maybe that's what it is. St. Valentine's Day Massacre, maybe they were all there.
Mate, if they were like, he sounds like the fucking Sex Pistol gig in Manchester for that. There's only about 200 people there. Yeah, exactly. There was only 200 people at that St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I said it to him, he scared the shit out of me because he looked at the stage and started screaming, I'm going to fucking kill you. I was like, all right. I didn't know if this bloke was an absolute fucking maniac. He wasn't in the end. He didn't follow me on the tube or anything going back to Tottenham Hale. So it was nice. It was nice meeting him. I mean, there was the, like as we said earlier on about Matty and Megan Vane, and Bazilla came in, and then there was Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, who appeared not to be hassled by anyone. Which was I thought was
not in the Wenzels this time. Interesting. Wonder if you got it in there. Alien the Day maybe. I was going to bring this back on topic. Well, the venue, the day. Is there anything we're missing from like the day out? I would say Matty and Gareth went through a few different things, but was that the pretty much the tour of the day? Couple of pubs and then straight to the O2 Jubilee line as always.
Yeah, that was pretty much it, wasn't it, Joe? That was
yeah. As far as I can remember, my mind's a bit hazy later on in the evening. I won't lie to you.
Oh yeah.
Any good hazy pale ales? That's what I want to know. Any good ones?
I was on the lager, Benno, the brewery's own lager, which was excellent. A bit like a sort of German style Hellas beer. So I was sticking to that, and then I think I was on the Aperol Spritz eventually because I couldn't fit any more beer inside my stomach. I'll be totally honest with you. Yeah.
I had my Guinness shirt on, so I snuck in a couple of pints of Guinness at the Wetherspoons as well. But I had a good skinful for the day. Merrily pissed without being like puking and fucking stumbling over yourself and whatnot. Because that would have made for a terrible review. I'd have remembered nothing from the show. Yeah. I didn't remember that much as it bloody was, if I'm honest. But there we go.
Well, on that note, we've set the scene. I suppose we should get into the show itself. Unless you did you? What was it like in the venue? Like, was because it felt like watching it on like the because I'll give you the VOD experience of watching it. It felt like a very British crowd. It felt like a very WWE crowd, like watching it from home. I don't know if that's what it felt like there. It felt very like popping for big moments, popping for entrances and things like that. And otherwise kind of just trying to amuse themselves. A lot of like, jokey chants and stuff like that. It felt a bit like being at WWE in the O2. Almost felt like, to me, like there was a lot of those same kind of, belt wearing fans that were out there for me.
People felt invested though. Like I didn't get the impression it was sort of that very sort of casual sort of audience. It felt like people knew who each of the wrestlers were. They sort of popped for the sort of bigger name talent that you'd expect them to pop for. They knew what the kind of wrestlers' main moves were, signatures and stuff. So I didn't get the impression it was that WWE. And I don't know, I thought the atmosphere was pretty major league at points of it as well. I also thought the way it was shot, I watched a bit of the show back, I thought the way it was shot was excellent. Like I thought they made it look big time, like better than sort of Raws that I've seen from the venue before as well. So I thought they utilised the space really well. And generally, JP, up there where we were, people were generally pretty into it, weren't they? From what I remember,
I didn't. It was a funny because it's not like
at any point, and it was a long show, and I felt like everyone was kind of engaged throughout it for the most part.
Yeah, it was because it was a funny one if you're talking about it in terms of pacing. I'd say one of the best things that this show had was the fact that the venue had a curfew for 10:30 because it forced things to get a pace on after a while during the show. It felt like we were saying it to ourselves. It just seems to be like into the next match. So like wrestlers hadn't left the ring by the time the next video package was up, and then they were being like kind of almost like Cope hadn't left the ring before they started doing like stuff for Carl Fletcher and Hiromu. It was like, okay, this is interesting. Like having to work to a bit of a pace, and it's like, oh God, they need to have this all the time just to like keep things ticking along. There were points where the crowds I wouldn't say lulled because they were never like quiet, but it wasn't. One thing I would say it wasn't outside of like towards the end when you had like the bigger stars. It wasn't like crazily raucous. Like it wasn't like it was like a wild crowd. It was one that was like this is like sort of like they're enjoying themselves, they're watching it, but at the same time they're not like losing their shit. And particularly like that first like sort of 3-4 matches, they're still settling themselves in. People are going for drinks and whatnot. But it was like in the main, I have to say, like the crowd that we were, the area where we were sat, and we were right up in the nosebleeds. We were like second row from the back. The thing, and this goes into the O2, the sight lines are great. So like I never found myself like I did at the first All In when I was on the floor where I was being forced to watch the screen. Didn't have that. I was able to just like watch the ring. Watch
so steep in it. It's like the Hill
Yeah.
Dickinson. Like it's literally straight down. They've done that well with replacing Goodison. Keep that atmosphere, keep that angriness, just keep everybody right on the pitch. The O2's like that. I've been at the top, I've been at the back, and it is fucking steep looking down, isn't it? It's actually quite scary when you first get up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think as well, like I went to a Raw show there in like 2015, and it was bloody awful. And there was just a lot of apathy in the crowd because everyone knew the show was terrible. Whereas it felt like this, the crowd wanted it to be good, were urging it to be good, if anything, at times as well. And I never got, like I say, that impression of apathy or boredom that I felt at the WWE show I went to there and other WWE shows I've been to before. I think that's the main thing with the AEW shows I've now been to. There never seems to be that level of kind of disengagement or disinterest in the crowd. It always feels quite consistent. I don't know if we've been lucky with that because I feel like big occasions and it feels like we're not taking the audience for granted. But no, I thought the audience or the crowd were good throughout, to be honest with you, or solid throughout.
Yeah, I guess to that point as well, like at least on the pre-show, at least it did feel like some of the hardest of the hardcore were there. Like I think the two most over people on the pre-show, and we're not going to go through it match by match, was Samoa Joe, which again tells you like how over TNA was at a point in this country, and how like Joe's just been an ever-present in all of our growing up as wrestling fans. You know,
bring it on,
like
mate. Come on.
Yeah, I was going to say people like me and Joe go back to ROH, but there are the JPs and the Garretts of the world who are very much TNA Joe. But it's all there.
He was TNA into the conversation at any point, and I'll always.
You could always say. fit it in. Yeah, it's ROH legend there, Samoa Joe, as was Nigel in it and Brian, but we'll get there. But it felt like those types of fans, the type of fans at least who were reacting to Joe, were the type of fans who've just seen him year over year, or even in an NXT or in a WWE. And then the same with like Michael Oku was the other like surprise to me how over he was on the pre-show. Like that felt like, I guess, yeah, to counter my own point, like at that moment it was like, okay, there's more people in this building who are either pretending or know what Rev Pro is than you might have expected at a big AEW show. Like he down to like, you know, going for like the single crab and the Now We Play thing being massively over. Like people, in fairness, did seem to know who he was as well. So maybe that goes to some of what you're saying with the atmosphere, JP.
Yeah, I mean that was the one pre-show of the stuff in the pre-show. I was like, I need to see this. I just want to see how Oku came across. And you're right, he just came across like a star. It's like they knew the act, they knew the catchphrase, knew the moves. It probably helped that insane fucking bump he took.
Did he tried to kill himself? Jesus Christ, that moonsault.
Was Ricochet meant to move for that? Like, did Ricochet fuck that up? That's what I couldn't work out.
I couldn't tell. I think it felt like he was going for like the normal Michael Oku like high jump moonsault he does, but to do it as a bump, like it was like a pounce, wasn't it? Like the bump. So I guess it wouldn't have made sense if somebody caught him, but it might have been worse though because he under rotated. So I think if somebody was there in the way, I think it actually could have been even uglier than it was. But fuck me, like he had a couple of those moments in this match. Like he went out there wanting to leave an impression, and that he fucking did. But Jesus Christ.
He deserves a contract for that bump alone because that's going to be career shit, if anything. So I all power to him. I hope it works out for him.
I mean, I haven't got any inside track on this, but it feels like he, like on the back of this and the fact they're going to be back in they're doing Cardiff and Manchester, they're going to want him around. And if you haven't got a Will Ospreay, you do need some kind of British representation around the place. And Oku feels like he would be the guy that they would go for, quite where he would fit into the AEW side of things in terms of like your week-to-week TV. That one's a harder one to kind of see, but like certainly he'd be on those shows as well. But it was just like for him, and even then, like when I went back and watched like the women's four-way, you saw like Alex Windsor, like she got a big pop. Like I was like very impressed, and then Ospreay. I'll say it now. Ospreay got like the pop of the night. That was the one that was like completely, like people were losing their shit to that, and it was fucking great.
I've got a bit of theory on Oku, and I wonder if this could work as a bit of a wild card. But in any Continental Classic, you need someone who's going to take a lot of falls. So, like, you think Commander last year, and he got the big win against Claudio right at the end at the Hammerstein, I think it was, wasn't it? Like, with them doing 2 Continental Classic shows over it, I wonder if maybe you could throw Oku in, because you know you're going to get good matches. You know he can probably get over by losing matches as well, build a bit of sympathy. And could you build to like a win against someone, maybe in the UK? Like, could be a shout possibly to try and get him that little bit over if they are going to sign him. And it's someone who doesn't necessarily need to have instant credibility that you could build over time possibly.
He's perfect underdog babyface. Like, just look at just how he is and how, if you think about his story in Rev Pro, how much of it was like it was underdog babyface for quite some time, and then working his way up. So it felt like when he did reach the sort of top in Rev Pro, it was organic, it was natural, and they should go down that route with him here, because I think he would get, his work is good enough for him to be properly over. I think with an American audience, and it's like anytime he has been over to the States, he's always kind of generally, I think, shone. I mean, I'm a Michael Oku fan, biased on this, but like I think that sounds like a good route for him to be him to be into that. I mean, it's how soon do they work him into it? Like work him into the company, because it just feels like it's inevitable. I mean, I'm almost surprised there wasn't an announcement there saying that like he's signed with like that. Tony Khan had come out and said that Michael Oku and Amir are all elite, because they recognise the value in the package and the presentation, which he's not going to get like in a WWE. And then the lack of size is still something that he can work around that as well. I think there's enough about him, and he's popular enough with like people in AEW who've seen him and seen those big matches, and he'd have enough people like Ospreay kind of batting for him, saying, look, this guy's really fucking good. So,
Well, I wonder if that's a thing that they say for later in the year. Possibly, you can give Quill a chance to book maybe an exit from Rev Pro as well. He's got him for the last few months.
Yep.
Can maybe pop a few houses if he's on some sort of like leaving tour as well. So maybe
heel turn. Maybe they've been teasing for a while.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe that'd be in December.
But yeah, he was fun to see on the pre-show. It was cool to see Robbie X out there. That was kind of surreal seeing him in an O2. You know, again, there's a lot of people like that, wasn't it? Where it's like from the smaller halls we've seen them into seeing them in the O2. That was cool. Guess that's so the rest of the boys, JP, the Bullet Club, War Dogs on there. They were very much there to eat the pin, but.
That was the match that was on when we arrived, and it was just sort of getting into the final crescendo. And a lot of it was Robbie X, who looked like he was going out all guns blazing. And he just thinks
my second time seeing Dan Maloney in 2 major arenas in the same week. Never thought that would be so.
There you go. He's left Brit Res behind for a reason, but yeah, they were kind of the highlights really, unless you had anything else on the pre-show. Not to go out your way to see an extra hours or plus more of action there as well. But it was a nice way to get us set up. Oh, sorry, JP.
I was just going to say, personally, for me, given how long I can handle a show going on for a certain amount of time, I think for me, like him, like me not seeing that pre-show helped for me watching the rest of the card. I can understand if there were a lot of people who had a lot of fatigue, yourself included, watching a pre-show and going straight.
I was 22 ketchup sachets deep, JP, at that point, so I needed the break. I need to learn that lesson not to sit there for an hour watching these bloody pre-shows.
Mate, it's like you're in the Pine Barrens.
I was just going to say that.
I think what it was I ordered the pizza with no cheese, so they were just like, well, this lad's like can't give him a dry pizza. Here's all of the ketchup. Literally, as a shoot, I counted them. 42 sachets of ketchup, the Bangkok Domino's, and 15 extras with paprika. There's a couple of garlics. There was a couple of chili sauces in there. My fridge is they're not bothered, I'll tell you. My fridge is full of like plastic cups, fucking straws, sauces. Like, it's just like, whatever, just fill the bag. I respect it, but probably not good for the environment, you know.
Mate, do people have ketchup with pizza after they're about the age of, I don't know, 9? Like, is that a thing that happens? Like, I don't think I even did as a kid, to be honest with you. I just found it a bit weird.
Yeah, maybe it's a big thing over there.
The brother used to back in the day in his worst
your
moments.
brother's never been a man of taste, has he, JP?
He had ketchup on a roast, and I was just like, fucking disgraceful, Pat. What the
While
fuck
watching
are you
his
up to?
favourite film, Green Street.
Yep, yeah, loves a bit of Green Street as well.
And wearing diesel jeans from Brent Shopping Centre or something.
Always, yeah,
not a man of taste.
He's better turned out these days.
Depends on your taste. Yeah. He's turned out to be a proper grown-up. I saw the pictures with Gaza, but there we go. We've taken some of the heat off Amira and a horrendous breakfast that she had last week. Don't know if you saw that, Joe, with his... she had, like, what's she having at JP? Pickles, olives on her
cheese.
Slice of cheese. Yeah.
Was it continental breakfast or something?
No. Scrambled eggs. What was it? Yeah, scrambled eggs. Like sausages. Multiple
bacon,
sausages.
beans.
Hash brown. Yeah, beans. And then pickles and olives in the beans.
In the beans?
In the beans.
In the beans,
so hold on, baked beans with like gherkin and olive.
And a slice of cheese on top. Don't forget, that was in there too.
That's bizarre. Like I was thinking, is she trying to do a hybrid of like the continental and the fry up potentially? Like I sort of respect that maybe she's at a breakfast buffet where they offer fry up and continental breakfast, and she's been a bit rogue. But that's like a different level of rogue. Like, why would you put olives in beans? Like, I don't understand how the sweetness of the beans and the kind of, I don't know, like the saltiness of the olive, that just wouldn't work very well, would it? That just sounds weird. Not
Separate
for me.
them out. I mean, I'm a man who ordered the pizza without cheese on it, so I can't judge. But yeah, she was very much the heel of the weekend there going in. But she looked great on the pre-show too to tie it in. But now that takes us into the main show, which we do need to talk about here today. And like I say, great experience watching it on commentary getting the commentary in at home as well. I think while I was very jealous of you lot sat in the arena, I got to listen to Bryan Danielson for 4.5 hours. So that was a big positive for me as well. I wouldn't have had him. I was almost like eating my own words. I wouldn't have him on Dynamite every week. I wouldn't have him out there all the time. And I was actually partly thinking, is a full pay-per-view a good shout for him? It's a bit like Jim Ross. You want to wheel him out one match at a time. No, he was fantastic. And I was made up that that Taz didn't make the flight, so it was great to get to watch this. They should have like one thing like they used to do in WWE, JP, where you could plug your ears in, you could listen to the commentary while you were there live. That's the one thing you guys missed.
Like when you go to the cricket and you can choose between Sky Sports or Radio 5 Live commentary and go between those. Because I have to say, when I watched the bits I watched back to kind of refresh my memory, it was like he was the highlight, like on commentary. And I'd be completely in agreement with you. Just for pay-per-views, bringing him out. Just complete natural. Like at the moment when Jim Ross isn't doing commentary anymore, he's the guy you bring out to do like the special commentary, because he was tremendous just in terms of the insights that he had. I mean, but it's also he just gets what commentators are there to, and putting over people like the entire time. He just felt like he was getting people over, and he loved it and he enjoyed it. And he just thinking, yeah, this is what you do. This is part of you. Having him doing a load of backstage stuff and helping out there, possibly helping booking. Not quite sure what his role is. Him doing commentary would be absolutely on that list. Just not week to week, because I think there's just a
give him the Dusty Rhodes role.
Yeah.
Bring him in for the pay-per-views,
Dare I say it, like UFC don't have Joe Rogan commentating every single big UFC show. He just comes in and does the big sort of select ones. In some ways, you do the same thing with Danielson.
Yeah,
that'd be the only comparison you take between the two that I can think of.
There's some others, but we won't go there. But yeah, that was obviously our commentary team there with Excalibur and Tony Schiavone as well. But that took us into our opening match, and what a choice to open things up, as we were all loving on the Discord. Of course, we opened up with Cope and Christian versus Kill Switch, the substitutes of the day, and Kip Sabian with Mother Wayne in the corner. Keep thinking of Mitchell Brothers when I think of Mother Wayne, JP. I'm not sure why. I don't know why that comes to mind. But all jokes aside, this was the match that I was least looking forward to on the show. But I think this was the absolute right spot for it as far as the entrance goes. And I don't know, I might have seen a sneaky clip here, Joe, of certain people in the crowd having a fucking whale of a time as your boys Cope and Christian came out. Be the antidote to my hatred, because I'm about to speak.
I absolutely loved it. Brilliant. Edge, I've always thought, one of the best entrances in wrestling. The energy that he kind of gets across and exudes on his entrance, like just getting the crowd going. He didn't need to do the entrance at All In, I'll say that. That was ridiculous. But in terms of getting a crowd up for things, getting them lively, unbelievable. I was loving this. Like, I don't want the AEW to become WWE, but if they're going to have the odd sing-along and it's not Randy Orton's bloody shite music, like, I'll take this any day. Absolutely cracking tune. The finest work of Alter Bridges' career. Don't know any other songs, so I couldn't say anything else I ever did. I think there was something to do with Creed, from what I remember. But absolutely loved it. Always been a big Edge fan. I think in these circles, they're seen a bit of a kind of, how can I put it? It's almost like an element of disgrace to be an Edge fan. I think it's probably just me and Matty Edwards, isn't it? But no, always been a big fan.
2000s Fed me.
Oh, Edge carried SmackDown between, I would say, about 2007 to maybe like 2010. Like, there was some cracking Edge angles. Edge and Vicky Guerrero, loved that stuff back in the day. Edge even got, The Undertaker, I think, is the most overrated wrestling gimmick of all time. And I used to get absolutely fed up of him turning up on SmackDown, and I used to run through so much of it. The Edge feud, fucking loved. Because Edge basically worked the feud, and some bloke stood there and a bell rung occasionally, and he'd turn up and everyone would go, fucking hell, and run away, and they go, locker room leader. Oh, look at this bloke. Let's basically appease this ego, this man's dumb ego for years, by making out he's this false leader of men, when actually he's a dumb fuck who just wasn't actually that good. He was quite good in the ring, I'll give him that. But no, Edge, I'm a big fan of.
That's how I feel about Edge, mate. He's the Undertaker for the modern generation, mate. That's what he is. Bored and cunt. I hate his face. I hate the music. I hate Christian for being associated with him. And there's nothing I hate more than 2000s Fed, mate. We're never going to agree on this. Early 2010s Fed. Awful stuff.
Edge was working his ass off here. Like, he was putting a shift in. He puts a shift in most weeks. Like, he's had
That's the problem.
Flop.
He tries so fucking hard.
Yeah,
I wish he didn't try so hard. He'd be better.
You reckon? I don't know. Like, I can respect the work at this point. Like, a man of 50 putting a shift in, good on him.
Hopefully, he's got more days behind him than he's got in future, JP. But yeah, I did see a clip where JP was shaking his head like a disappointed dad at you and Cooper singing along to the altar picture open. I'd have been shaking my head too, JP. You were my spirit.
Me and Cooper were big Edge fans together back in the day. He was a wrestler that we both mutually loved as much as one another. And I can remember being together for some Edge Money in the Bank wins that we were popping for big time. Proper moments.
Yeah, you're not selling me. How was it for you, JP, being in that arena full of edge heads? I'll say this. I will, to this point, I hate it, especially those dynamites and collisions recently where, like, he stood there with a stupid fucking grin on his face and there's 3 people singing and the fucking Yanks don't know the words either. At least here, it's like, when it'll be the same at All Out, won't it? It'd be the same at, like, a big show like All In, just not that particular All In, with obviously him doing the run in. I think that's okay. I'll accept it. It's when he's gonna do it on Dynamite this week. He's gonna do it on Dynamite next week, and it's like, just save your big moments for ones like this, because counter to me, everyone else other than you as well, JP, in that arena seemed to be loving this. And again, I joke, but it probably was the right choice to open up, having coming out and doing that sing along, and however the Christian arsehole stuff was and all of that.
Oh, this was always down as my piss break match. But I put it on one, it was like, I don't need a piss just yet. So, here I am for this one. And obviously, I've just not enjoyed so much of the AEW run. But when it comes to the nostalgia stuff, doing it there, this is where you do it. And, I can be as, snarky as I want about it. It worked in the moment. Everyone was singing along to it. Not me. But they enjoyed it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like I am able to accept the fact that my point of view is a minority one in that building for the time. But there are issues I had with the match. I would say, other than the time, what the fuck, the teasing, the fucking dissension between. I was just going to call him Luchasaurus. I don't like the name Kill Switch. Bollocks to that. Did him and Kip Sabian already when you've got the other side.
Very quick to go to that, wasn't it? It was just a bit like, okay, can we tell the story first? But that's been this. I don't know if you've had that feeling, Joe. Disagreements aside on Cope. The story's just been. It's like on fast. It's like we're missing chapters. We're missing whole books. I don't really know where we are. I think the best way you can save it is what they've done and do the whole I guess he's an asshole, but he's my asshole type of stuff. Where it's like it's a buddy comedy, isn't it, with a baby face and a heel? But I feel like they've had to do that because of how rushed the story's been. And you add in the Nick Wayne injury, and like I say, feel like Kill Switch was always supposed to turn on Christian, not turn on Kip Sabian, but they were already playing into that here, so very clearly there was another few weeks worth of story we were going to tell before we got to this point.
Yeah, it's almost like Christian had done too good a job as a heel as well, and they didn't know where to even start when it came to putting the kind of work in for a kind of subtle kind of babyface turn, and they didn't even try and really lean into it properly, did they? It feels like one of them sort of more poorer thought out and plotted storylines this year, if anything. And it just feels like they've got that Canada date, which was like this hard date they've got to hit, and they're determined to hit. And it was like, right, well, we've got to do it here, and we've got to do this bit here. And they've kind of, I don't know, booked themselves into a corner a little bit. I think your point about the buddy comedy thing, I sort of get the route they're going down with it. And I guess in a buddy comedy, eventually everyone warms to one another. Maybe it's going to be, a Riggs Murtaugh situation as a dated reference there for Lethal Weapon. They weren't too keen on each other at first.
Tango and Cash.
But there's a flawed film, mate. You're talking about flawed storylines. That is a flawed film. I quite like. Jesus Christ! But by the end of Lethal Weapon 4, Riggs is basically living around Murtaugh's house, isn't he? From what I remember.
Yeah.
So mate, I think eventually, the more you lean into it and you see Christian, I don't know, soften. Maybe that's an approach. And I guess this is probably going to be, a year, maybe 18 months together, where they try and do those last matches that they can tick off together. So I quite enjoyed the match for what it was. And I wanted to see the reunion from the start because I'm a big Edge and Christian fan, always have been. No, it's not for everyone. But yeah, for what it was, fine. But yeah, poor booking overall to get there.
Yeah, and like that was the thing as well. I guess it didn't matter hugely that Nick Wayne wasn't there because at the end of the day, they were just there to be bodies, weren't they? They were there to be the first opponents for Cope and Christie, and that's literally the existence of this match. And like I say, for the people like yourself, Joe, who were into it, you got to see a bit of that. Was the other problem, I suppose, with Edge and Christie back in the day. It's not like there was a load of stuff you can go back to. They're not going to do like for the benefits of those with flash photography type stuff, are they? It didn't feel like they had a lot of like material to mine moves wise, but they did come up with some new like combinations and a new, obviously, tag team finisher as Platt mentioned there as well. So yeah, practice for the big FTR match. That's all this was. And I don't know if you get any more notes on the match itself, JP.
My main ones was I really, like I say, the dissension I had an issue with. It just didn't. I didn't need to go 14 minutes. I thought this could have just been a 5-minute long squash. If it had been a 5-minute long squash with just like a comprehensive win, and then maybe play a bit of dissension up afterwards as a result of Sabian losing and Luchasaurus going, "Why the fuck am I here? I don't really want to be teaming with you. You're shit." Then that would have been. I think that would have been a better way to go. Instead, it was just like because the entrance was going to take up was going to be was really the selling point, and then whatever celebration reunion they did afterwards in the ring, the actual match itself was kind of didn't need to be neither here nor there. So as a result, it could have just been 5 minutes, and no one would have felt shortchanged or would have been unhappy about it.
Do you ever think you'd see Kip Sabian in the O2, JP? Joe?
No, and fair play to him. I think me and JP interviewed him years ago. I'm sure. I sort of had a vague memory of it during the match. I was like, I've not thought about that in a long time. But you know what? Fair play to him. I'm sure he's he's a similar age to me, I imagine. So he was probably a big Edge and Christian fan himself as a younger man. So he got himself like something out of this and got to wrestle in front of a big AEW crowd. And he thoroughly deserved that pint he had after the show because he was working hard in the match as well. So pleased for the bloke. You know, there's a lot of Norwich representation on this card of him and Alex Windsor. So a testament to the night training school. They certainly produced more wrestling than Ojo ever did at a top level. That's for sure.
I wonder if they're still running those TV tapings or if ITV have come for all their money again. Who knows? But they've still got still got the worst of the worst there working out there. Don't come for me, come for JP. You can get a cracking split potato though if you go down to Norwich. So you know, at least there's that if you go and watch the lads. Apparently that's the big seller, isn't it?
The last thing I'll say on. Sorry, JP.
I was going to say I can't remember the name of it. It's like Zach Knight's potato thing. What is it called?
Zach and Potato, mate.
Zach and Potato, of course.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, good on him.
Oh, he struggled though. He's been moved from the pub there outside. He's been told he had to shift from Norwich Council. Partridge wouldn't have tolerated that. There we go.
Mate, he should have been in Victoria. He should have 2 a.m. I could have done with a jacket potato at that time, I tell you. From Zach Knight as well, would have tasted extra special. But the last note of this match, when JP did say to me and Cooper that he's a much bigger Christian fan because of his TNA run. So
as is Tony Khan.
Yeah.
And the TNA music.
Mate, what did
I was going to say, that's the song you should have been singing along to.
I don't remember it. What was it?
Oh, what? This TNA theme?
I got no idea.
Someone uses for AEW now.
Oh, is it the same song?
Yeah, same one.
No,
brilliant.
It out.
All I can remember is a cage match against Abyss, if I'm honest with you. I don't remember any of the rest of the run. And didn't he go back there for one date once? He looked really pissed off.
He was like, even Ric Flair, wasn't it? Went the opposite directions for Flair to do the WWE Hall of Fame, and they sent Christian out to TNA to cut a promo with a boo boo face on, knowing that he did not want to ever step foot back in TNA. And then Tony Khan sent him there when he won the belt. So there you go. He couldn't escape it. As if sounds like Charlie has strong opinions on it. But we should
very strong opinions. Charlie has very.
Speaking of wrestlers from the past. Oh,
well,
go on,
the irony of the fact we're talking about Christian, he's shouting "Daddy" down the stream as well.
Yeah,
that kind of fits.
He recognised who is real, and that was one of the best chants. They did the Bailey chant, but "Will you be my dad?"
Yeah, that was good. That was
of which, judging by the screaming outside there, he really wishes Christian was his dad at this point, because Christian would probably let him in here as he's trying to open the door again. There we go.
Just meet you in a sec, JP. I'll let you sort that out. But we'll move on to the into the next match, Joe. As we have speaking of the past, I've been very critical of this one, but it was, to be fair, one of the few matches on the card that felt very Forbidden Door, which was Kyle Fletcher, a man who we've seen up and down. I say up and down the country, mostly in the Midlands, wrestle in his youth, and also Rev Pro this past weekend as well, taking on Hiromu, who I joked about it, Joe, on all the previews we did for it, that it felt like Tony Khan, like the day he decided he was going to run AEW was the day he stopped watching New Japan, which, to be fair, smart man, probably something we all should have done at that point. And all he does now is bring in wrestlers from that period that he remembers being over. Ishii, Minoru Suzuki, those types of guys. Hiromu felt like that, completely left field, and no real faith that Hiromu was going to be able to deliver, because again, it's not his fault, but New Japan have missed the boat on him plenty, missed his peak, missed the peak of his athletic abilities as well. And then he came in against Kyle Fletcher. I don't know if it felt like that in the building, but this was one of the matches of the night for me. I don't know whether it's Kyle Fletcher is so good at this point, Joe, or that he can do it, or Hiromu showing that he's got a lot more left in the tank that New Japan don't take advantage of. But yeah, this one came across great on tape. Don't know how it was on the building for you.
Yeah, I got to say, like, Tony Khan and me are in a similar boat there. I hadn't seen a Hiromu match probably since the day AEW opened, if I'm totally honest with you. If I have, I can't remember seeing one, that's for sure.
You've missed nothing.
Yes, from what I gather, yeah. But here, I got to say, working boots were on. I thought they had real chemistry. Kyle Fletcher, like, is he the most improved guy over the last year? Like, I just think he's possibly in the conversation for top 5 in the world at this point in terms of his ability. His presentation is unbelievable, the way he holds himself in the ring. Like, he is a wrestler that guys on the up should look at as an example of someone who has just got it and is really bet on himself and understood how to actually become a star and improve your lot in the industry, if anything, because this was just another testament to that. I thought he had the crowd really well at points, and he's gone from wrestling indie shows year after year after year to now being someone who we just take for granted in this sort of setting because he's so natural, so organic, and so good in that setting. And this was just another of a long list of fantastic Kyle Fletcher matches that we see constantly. Like, I don't think he's had below what I'd say like a 3.5, 3 3/4 star match in a long time, to be honest with you. Like, the level of his work rate and the effort he puts in, the way he constructs his matches, unbelievable. And he got something genuinely good at Hiromu here. My only worry is Tony liked the match so much, he carries on bringing Hiromu in. And I'm not sure there's that much mileage in a Hiromu run in AEW. But no, cracking match, really good match. And I watched this one back, and it was... I thought it was even better, actually, watching it back. I thought there were some small little moments of the match that I connected with a little bit more watching it back. But in the building, really, really good fun as well.
Yeah, it's surprisingly good chemistry, I thought, AJ, I was saying. Yeah. It was very much this is what Forbidden Door, I guess technically should be, an AEW. In my mind, I kind of wanted Kyle Fletcher to face like his equivalent on the New Japan roster. I don't know who that would be. We talked about that. Could it be Yota Tsuji? Could it be someone else? Hiromu feels like his equivalent. Well, 5 years ago, yeah, Yomura probably would have been the guy, but they might not have delivered to this level because I'm with Joe. I thought this was brilliant.
Yeah, this was again one of the ones I wanted to watch back because at the time I thought that this was good. And it got better on the rewatch, probably helping, again, having the Danielson commentary there as well. And it's funny, I think so much of that good work he did on that indie run, like you could see that there's that seasoning has really sort of served him well. And then he just thought, well, and then it comes back to the Tanahashi conversation. It's like, just improve your look, and you're going to get that. And my God, has he done so? And he's shown that level of dedication, and it's just the way he carries himself. But in terms of this match, I thought again, really, really good match. Like ratings wise, I'd be tempted to go to 4. I'll be boring and stick with 3.75. But
that's probably fair.
And the way that I came out of this is just thinking, at the minute with Fletcher, the thing that would serve him best is not trying to move him too soon into that world title scene. This has felt very organic, his rise up the card. And sometimes it's born out of necessity, but he's been the one who's been there and been around. And considering all the people who are in the Don Callis family, he still stands out. That's a hell of an achievement if you figure some of the names who are in there and people who could just easily overshadow him. And instead, what I'm looking forward to is just a really long title reign with this TNT belt, and just him holding on to it and just going, "This is my title." And
it's a good spot for him in the card. Go out there, have the match of the night in the undercard every time. Like, that's a good role for him, isn't it? And then build the Takeshita match, which is clearly, at some point going to happen. He's very clearly the number 2 in the stable to Takeshita's number 1, who's clearly leaning babyface as well. If they did that next year at Forbidden Door, that'd be brilliant. You could wait that long, and you could have him in this spot, just having, like I say, that reliable undercard pay-per-view banger, and that's the role he's in now. And I didn't necessarily see it in him when he was in the tag act, so it's great to see him and find his feet so much.
Originally, sorry, JP, go on.
You go.
No, originally I was going to say as well, I would have gone with Tanahashi here as his opponent. I thought that they could have leaned into like a kind of legend gimmick with him after the Dustin Rhodes match, after the retiring Adam Cole. I thought that there was some mileage in doing something like that, but I can completely see why they didn't. And it's something you could go to down the road if you want to as well. But no, going back to what you were saying, I think you've got those Australia shows coming up as well. And you've got
he's
him
all over the posters.
And it feels like they should just keep building him up at that point, and maybe give him a major singles match. I know he was in the tag last year with Omega and Ospreay, but it feels like he should get a major singles match on that show. And again, I think those are just the Continental Classics. I don't know if you play something into that as well coming off this, but no, I think they should really try and promote his star. Maybe Matt doing some media in Australia to build this up as well. Because he feels like he's got that personality. He feels like he's got that confidence at this point to actually go and engage people in settings outside of his kind of comfort zone. So, no, I think you've got someone who could be a really good kind of figure for the company as well, potentially.
Like I say, the early graphics for it, the pictures, it's Tony Storm and it's Carl Fletcher, and it's like, that's what it should be. Like, it's mad to see him, and it's like, he should be front of house, he should be there. Like in past years, they put like a Jay White there, not knowing the warring between the Aussies and the New Zealanders. But Carl's your guy now, he speaks straight to your heart, Joe.
He's going to push people away, if anything. Honestly, Jesus Christ.
That New Zealand tour is coming at some point, but no, I thought it was a strong performance by Kyle as always. There, I thought it was definitely my pick of the matches for the undercard. Although a lot went with this next match, which was your women's 4-way, which did get announced last minute, which was Mercedes Moné, Alex Windsor. I'm not doing it. Bozilla, who got very over in the building, and I'm going to get this right because the GRAPPL lads didn't. JP Persephone was the fourth person who
well done
got announced as well. I think it was Bozilla actually got announced later on, but this was again felt very Forbidden Door. Multiple companies represented. Alex Windsor being new to the company as well, but as you say was very over with the crowd here, and thought he went out there and had a really strong match, a stronger performance as some of the stars of BritRes had on Mercedes entrance here. JP, as a few of your old friends were dressed in some Royal Guard outfits here.
That was like, because again, I have to admit, for this wasn't a match I saw. Like, it was at this point, it's like, right, I need to have a piss, I need to get myself a drink, and it was this match that we did it. So I knew this was one I was going to end up having to watch back. So when I saw stuff afterwards of like TK Cooper and dressed up as a fucking what the hell do you call him? Beefy
Mambo front and center, wasn't he?
Mambo up there as well. The most like Beefeater type person if you've ever taken a walk around like Whitehall. You just don't think he's of that ilk in there. Like,
battering tourists, kicking them for touching the horse. That's
exactly.
From the beaches of Newquay to Buckingham Palace, there's a natural progression, I would say.
Makes sense,
exactly.
Put the surfboard down, put your Beefeater hat on. Why not? It's sort of similar shape in a way, aren't they? So maybe there is something there. I don't know. Sort of big and sorry, Jason.
Oh no, we saw them afterwards. They were wearing white suits. They were going into the Sweet Chin Disco, which seemed like a unique choice, weren't they? They were going in there to that, and it was just
so those two. I've not watched those two wrestle in years, like not since I stopped doing the podcast. I can't even remember the last time I would have seen them wrestle. If I was at a Rev Pro show and they were on there, I didn't watch the match. I was probably at the bar. And but every all-in year, I see them either in a club, in a pub, hanging around the venue. They're just kind of ever present on these weekends. And I was thinking, when it comes to, it wouldn't be a show that an EastEnders comparison, would it, if I'm on? Like, I tell you, the people they remind me of, they're sort of blended into the background and just appearing. They're almost like the Tracy and Winston of British wrestling, if anything. Like, sort of like Tracy behind the bar, never gets a line, but she's an ever-present. Winston doing his records, cut his dreadlocks off years ago. Mambo's losing his hair. Maybe he's the Winston of the act.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they're the extras, and they've defined themselves truly as extras now, haven't they? By being a couple of beefier extras. So, yeah, they can take the Tracy and Winston roles all day long, because that's kind of what they've asked for, if anything, at this point.
I would always say, in the time that you've missed, as a team, as happens over time, they've gotten better, but they've also just recently turned heel in Rev Pro. And there was the match on the day two.
And the terrible at it. We'll talk about it later. They were rubbish.
Yeah.
Like, we were very high on them in recent years. Like, we as you say, as a team, JP, you were never a Mambo guy, but like when they were like the babyface upstart team in Rev Pro a couple of years ago, we were very into them. This here run is not it, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. But it was very funny to see him doing that. And in terms of the match itself, when I went back,
they'll never escape the bit, whether it's the mid card. Never escape the extras. Where
I thought this was really like interesting dynamics from just all of the various sort of people involved in this match, because you've obviously got like Alex Windsor, who got that big pop, got like is getting over to an AEW audience. Bazilla is really the one where Ulf Herman was like only been wrestling for 17 months, and all I could think was like, it's just like, right, she's the kind of person that you just want to leave in Stardom for a couple of years, because that's where she'll get the most seasoning. That's where she'll be.
WWE can call them then, don't they? You can feel this being like, I was there. I was at Forbidden Door last year. Stephanie Vaquer like wowed everybody, and it was like 20 minutes after the show, I think Triple H had been on the phone and signed it to a WWE deal. That's the worry, isn't it? You give like someone like this focus, and immediately that can happen. You must want to sign it to like some kind of holding deal or something like that. Let her get that experience, let her do that work, and not let the bastards get the fingers on it, because like she was so over here. She really was.
Yeah. And she's an absolute, like, I saw her in the pub after. She came past when I was chatting to Ulf Herman. She was like going over to see her dad. And he was like, well, clearly he's more interested in talking to her than he is to me. This is my point to fuck off. And she's like, I mean, she's just got sort of like a look and a presence as much as anything else. And Persephone is fine. If you compare, like, I mean, in terms of like CMLL have had like a lot of their women's division gutted over recent years.
I thought she was really bad in the match.
Persephone.
Yeah, I thought she stood out as like a real weak link in the match. Like, you could see
she was
not as strong. Yeah,
you could see Bazilla was like quite raw, but I'd say raw potential was like clear there as well. And you can obviously do something around her being slightly bigger as well and all the rest of it. But I thought Persephone looked really off on stuff. I thought she looked out of position at times as well. Like, no, I didn't think she was good at all. And like, I don't know, I think Alex Windsor, real improvement, like really somebody getting
massively
herself, and I think she was great in this match. And obviously Mercedes, we know how great she is anyway. But I think generally the Alex Windsor Mercedes interaction sort of spoke to how much AEW has invested in that women's division and really improved it this year. And I was kind of amazed at how much Alex Windsor's got over in her short run, if anything. Like, when she came out and started shouting her surname, I thought to myself, oh my God, that's going to be death. The fact that she's got shouting her surname over, and she can credit Tony Storm for that as well, for making a kind of thing out of it. Like, fair play to her. I hope this really works out for her, because someone who's experienced some of the shit she has, which is stuff no one should ever experience, getting moments like this, unbelievable, to be honest with you. And I thought she was the person who stood out most in the match, along with Bazilla. Sorry, JP, I interrupted.
No, you're
right.
Especially,
I was going to say as well, especially where she's come from as well. Like, we were reviewing those shows. Like, remember when she did like, was it Progress Sheffield or Progress Birmingham maybe? Where
Progress Birmingham.
Rotten. Like, really bad.
I think that is the worst match I've ever seen live. The match she had at Progress in Birmingham, and God, this was maybe the most improved wrestler over the last decade, based on how good she's been recently. I've got to say,
yeah,
good to see, definitely.
And still kept over strong as well, wasn't it? She wasn't the one who was pinned. So like, there's still like so much more mileage you can do with it. The fact I think of the
roll
video
up as well,
package
felt like it protected people. You know, Mercedes didn't go over mass. It wasn't like she smashed through all three. If anything, Mercedes took way more in this match than I would have expected. She didn't really boss it. She let the others shine, and yeah, that wasn't necessary for a positive with Percy phone, as Platt says here in the chat, but it was a positive for the other two.
Yeah. I mean, like, and that's what I think it's made for, like a good match, is what I would say.
It feels
and
like as much as like AEW invested. Yeah, as much as AEW invested in the women's division, Mercedes more than anybody is. Like, you see the interviews with her where she's just she's talking a big game, like, you know, talk about WWE going, you know, this is where the better women's division is, this is where the better wrestlers in the world are, and she's obviously we're going to talk a little bit about Rev Pro later. She's putting over the Rev Pro women's division as well, and coming over voluntarily and doing Rev Pro and doing as many ditches as she can because she's invested in that talent too. Like, it's nice to see.
Yeah, if she'd have said that a year ago, I'd have gone, nah, come on. But no, I think the last year or so, how over Toni Storm's been, and then how Mercedes has got over and understood the audience a little bit more and the differences between the promotion. Like, those two, and actually those two having separate belts, has been of such benefit to the kind of level of the women's division generally. But I think the work of the women's division has really gone up, like, massively over.
And Mercedes had that rough spot. I don't know if you'd agree, Joe, like that when she first came into AEW, there was like a couple of weeks of it, like, oh, she looks like a star here, I like the presentation. And then it wasn't like she was having bad matches, but she's definitely found her footing more in the last, 6 months or so.
Hugely. And I think as she's got more comfortable, the division's got better. Toni Storm's confidence is obviously through the roof as well. And she's one of their biggest stars, isn't she, really? And I think when WWE women's division, I would watch individual matches. There are lots of women's wrestling WWE I quite like. Now, whenever I watch one of the women's matches, I think it almost feels that the division has peaked. Like, it feels, I don't know, like it's really kind of taken a step back in the last little while, if anything.
Triple H has no interest in it, I don't think. It was his proper little ace in the hole in NXT, and he didn't learn that lesson when he got to run the main roster. It feels like he's treating it like Vince treats it. It's like, it exists, it's there, but it's not really a feature for him.
And it feels like a lot of the guys are really coasting. You sort of Bailey isn't really invested anymore. She's not doing much. Becky Lynch feels like her best days are behind her, if anything. And then I'm thinking, you're giving someone like Naomi a push. Like, I quite liked Trinity and Jimmy Uso as a couple in Total Divas. But other than that, I'm not sure Naomi's really got much in the ring. Yeah. But I'm not sure she's really got much to offer in the ring. And she was getting a big push. And I just sort of think, Jade Cargill, she was shit in AEW. Like, that whole thing about Jade Cargill being this star of the future, couldn't see it. I thought to myself, she's being overrated as fuck here. I can't see what the potential is here. Wow. This reminds me of when we were being told that Ken Doane, or whatever his name was, Kenny Dykstra, was going to be like this star for years to come. I'm thinking,
I remember
this
that.
is fucking shit. Like, what are you on about? Or like Austin Theory or someone. That was what I saw Jade Cargill as. And she's kind of shown that, if anything. But yeah, I've gone a bit of an aside there. But yeah, AEW Women's Division, I hope it carries on being as positive as it's been the last year or so. Because, yeah, I thought this was really fun, man.
That's, I think, just last thing on the women's division, the real, like, we all thought Triple H was like this champion for women in NXT, but I think the real Paul Levesque came out here. What does he like? He likes aesthetics, doesn't he? He likes a Rhea Ripley. He likes that. He likes a Jade. He thinks that, oh, there you go, you look great, so you can be a star, and doesn't really care about the rest of it. Doesn't seem like he necessarily enjoys women's wrestling on any level, and I think that's come out.
You wait till Aurora Rose or whatever her name is wants to get in the business. That's when Triple H and invest big something.
Oh, well, Bozilla might get a call. She seems to stay. Could be. But yeah, you've been saying here, Monet's been great since last year. And yeah, again, like Andy Ogden says there in the chat, Joe, like 1 year on from that fucking Britt Baker match that we had last year at All In, she's nowhere to be seen, which again speaks to the rise in level in the AEW Women's Division.
And she's not missed in the slightest, is she? Like, no one's... I never hear any conversation about Britt Baker, and I'm absolutely fine. And you know, I'm sure you guys have said it already, but like, just the depth of that women's division. I mean, I've been saying for a long time that he could do with some tag belts, and I'm very, very skeptical about adding in more belts. But I think just the amount of offshoot stories you can have as a result, Triangle of Madness or whoever, but everyone seems to be over to a certain degree, and it's worked.
Well, speaking of us being a year on from All In last year, again, year on from me and you crying tears in the stands, Joe, as we have up next the match that was teased last year, Zack Sabre Jr. and our boy Nigel McGuinness. If people were shocked to have you back on the Japan show last week and to have you here for this review, I reckon last year when we did the Nigel McGuinness show, that was the closest I got to potentially getting you out of retirement, mate. I think you'd have loved doing that one. He was very more so than me, even. Like, I'm obviously same as you, massive ROH guy from way back when. People hear about that enough, but I wasn't necessarily a Nigel guy all the way through. I think you are who I think of, Joe, and I think of like Nigel era ROH, like that's your ROH, Nigel, if I'm not mistaken. Like he is to Gareth now. He's become, and I'm proud of that, he's become Gareth's ROH guy since watching those 2006, 2007 matches. He feels like your guy. He feels like your Ring of Honor, like Cope is your WWE.
Oh, better. That's a statement too far, that last bit there. But no, but fair play to Nige. Like, great to see him back. And I'll always be there for this and always be there for this comeback that I never saw coming. And yeah, I think as well, when it comes to you saying about him being my Ring of Honor, I think the fact that, Unified in 2006, where we first met Benno, that was my first ever wrestling show. He's in the main event. And he loses not just several brain cells, probably hundreds of brain cells in the process. I think that moment certainly resonated with me at that moment in time. So, I'll always have a soft spot.
That's why you threw the water bottle, mate.
Well, exactly. Mate, I was well into getting some heat on Bryan Danielson for the big rematch, and I like to think it worked long term. So Bryan Danielson could thank me. He was offering me out to come in the ring and all sorts. I could have gone full Raj Jackson on him if he didn't fucking watch out. I tell you, he's lucky I didn't. But on the match, generally, always great to hear fucking in the bushes, even though it's a kind of cheap DDPI
knockoff version, isn't it?
Yeah. At this point. But no, dream match as well. Something I guess we never thought we would ever see. The moment at Wembley last year was unbelievable, and getting to see this here.
It's the great. Human story, isn't it? It's like we talked about it when we did the Nigel show. We rewatched the documentary. Wouldn't recommend it, Joe. Not the lightest or most fun of watches. Almost like we listened to the podcast as well. The JP Nigel's Shagger podcast, for lack of a better term, that he did back in the day.
Likes to fuck that bloke.
Sorry, his dating podcast. That's what Nigel was doing. Dating and magic. That's what he was into. We listened. Oh yeah, it was an interesting listen, as that documentary was an interesting watch. Depressing in two different ways, wasn't it, JP?
Yeah, it's very bleak, but this sort of postscript to all of it is actually
it's so really, nice to see.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it's the real side of it. It's not necessarily even like for me the idea of seeing that, because it doesn't. I don't know if you're the same, Joe, but like without the hair and without the gear and without coming out with an iron, it doesn't feel like ROH Nigel. This feels like commentator Nigel. This feels like real person Nigel getting like this postscript to his career, thanks to Tony Khan, that he would have never believed would have happened in a million years. And like I see it written all over his face when he came out here, same as when he came out at Wembley last year. It's like, you know what, even if this was crap, and it wasn't, it was very good. And every match sneakily Nigel's had, I think, since his comeback has been at least good. But like, it could be bad, he could shit the bed, and I'd just be sitting there grinning ear to ear going, that's the real person Nigel McGuinness, having, getting this moment and getting to wrestle at the O2.
Yeah, it's serviceable matches. He's in there with good talent as well, who are interested in making him look good, because I guess they're invested in his story as well. They're invested in know the background, if anything. Again, I was going to say as well, Benno, you bringing up Tony Khan, we've kind of got the fact that, sorry, my wife's in the background. Don't know. What are you doing? She's making her breakfast. Sorry. She doesn't know what McGuinness is. Oh, okay. Sorry. No, not protege. Big storyline back in the day. Oh, there you go. That's there he is. Wow. I married the right woman, clearly.
You did.
Becky could tell you nothing about Nigel McGuinness at all, or his Ring of Honor work. Like, nothing.
Well, you couldn't tell her anything about scouting for girls, JP, which is disappointing.
That's true. No, that she knows about.
Going back to what I was saying, the fact that we've got a geek who's one of us, who happens to be a multi-billionaire, helming this company, really does help, doesn't it? Because it's given us these emotional little asides that we never thought we would get in wrestling. And I'll tell you what, I was thinking while I was watching this show, it's really weird. All of my favourite wrestlers over the last 25 years, bar maybe 5 or 6, were on this show in some capacity, if you include like Danielson on commentary as well. Like that's quite something. And it tells you quite a lot about, say, Tony Khan, I guess, as well, to an extent.
Yeah, he wears it on his sleeve, doesn't he? Like New Japan, they stopped watching 5 years ago. We clearly watched ROH in the peak time, and then buggered off and was doing Fulham or the Jags or something like that. And he's back and he's got a wrestling promotion. What does he do? Sign all his favourite wrestlers. JP said about Christian before being in TNA. I think Tony Khan's got the same story. Christian's allegedly Tony Khan's favourite wrestler. So what did he do? Throw a load of money at Christian and bring him in? Like, we'd all wish to be in that position, wouldn't we? We'd all love it.
He's his favourite
I don't
wrestler.
know why.
I've never heard this.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that really surprises me. I'd like to know why.
Maybe it was Punk at one point and he's changed his mind. But
I think that's very much changed in this day and age. But he's
a message board poster to the end, and he gave us this message board match. I was going to say to this point, JP. And like I said, going in, we had our critiques about the build to this one. I think you could have chose one or two lanes. It could have been Zach calls out Nigel and we get a dream match, or Nigel spends the last 6 months building to work to this match. Instead, they just throw out a 4-way and Nigel wins it, and now he's #1 contender for the IWGP title. But like I said, JP, we don't forget about that by the time the bell rang. And once the bell rang, I forgot about it. And I don't know if that was one of my first questions for you. Is like, this was a great match to watch back on tape, an even better match to watch with Bryan Danielson in your ears, breaking that down and doing reverse Nigel, cheering along Nigel rather than talking him down like Nigel would do with Bryan. But he was superb and like it added to it. But I wondered, like, what was it like watching it in the building? A match like this. This is maybe the match I was thinking of when I was saying maybe the crowd, to my eye, didn't necessarily have the patience for certain things that weren't easy pops. Didn't feel like the crowd were massively into the bell to bell of this, but was it otherwise? Did it feel otherwise in the building watching this one? And I wasn't watching.
So it's interesting because the impression I got, and I could easily be wrong about this, but I mean, I know I was pretty much transfixed. I was just like watching this match and not like completely engaged within it as well. Sort of like found it like, again, rating Nigel matches are like kind of, you just sort of take into consideration he barely wrestles. And he's nearly and he's 50. So you're thinking to yourself,
you're getting sort of an exhibition, aren't you?
You're
watching somebody with eyeing the kinks out on
and this match wouldn't have existed if all the people if they were not only not just injured but fully fit. Like, what would Zach have been doing? It would have been something different to this, I would imagine. So if you think of this as like a last minute type thing to kind of slot onto the card, this was as good as you could expect it to be. And I didn't see, like, there wasn't like loads of people leaving their seats and going to get drinks because they were bored because it was a bit of a like couple of lads grappling on the mat. There was none of that stuff. I think they were just like engaged in watching it. And then later on when they needed to pop, they popped. So, for example, when Nigel...
the chants got off and stuff.
When Nigel was doing his lariats, like, they worked. The crowd popped. I loved watching this back, though. Just with the Danielson commentary, and when he went up and he did the 5 count, like, I've got a 5 count, and shouting
across till 5 referee. Yeah, I love
that stuff was great, and for what the concept of this show is, and we said like in the preview to this was feeling like an AEW pay-per-view with like a sort of a sop to New Japan of just going, oh, okay, you'll have some presence on the card. Like at this stage, we'd had 3 this was like a very Forbidden Door match, and to be able to include in it, and you could get away with it here. But this night, this was the only time really you could get away with this having like a degree of credibility. It was always, I wonder now with the benefit of hindsight, if they just should have had a match, like the Daniel Garcia stuff and the Willie won't he turn and stuff like that.
It was a distraction.
You could have lost it, and it was a distraction coming out with the towel and things like that. That's overthinking it. I don't think you need to do stuff like that. You could have just had the match, could have just had the kind of respect stuff afterwards, and even the video package of him playing chess in a park with Marty
Oh, that was
Jones.
good.
Oh, we haven't even mentioned that, have we? Yeah. Yours in
He-
sport, Marty Jones. Huh?
Yeah, kind of stuff like that as well. The legend that is Johnny Saint that I wouldn't have been able to tell you anything about when I was actually watching World of Sport as well. Yeah,
That's the Americans, they'll tell you. All the Americans.
Yeah, they do like they do William Reed.
They look like a couple of blokes, or a couple of the blokes my granddad would drink with, having a few pints of John Smith down the social club back in the day. What they were wearing. I was like, I've seen these blokes, but not for maybe 15 years. But I've seen them. I know these sort of blokes. I just found it quite funny that they were just allowed to wear what they were wearing. Like, I would have maybe put them in like a suit jacket or something, maybe done a bit of production work on that one. But fair play. Look like they were having a good time and look like they appreciated the match, if anything, as well.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Saint saw a lot of NXT UK, so it was a nice break for him to get to see a proper match here. But,
was he involved in that, was he?
He was the commissioner, mate. They had him for a while. He'd wheel him out on TV, and he'd have to, he'd read scripted lines out. It was rough.
And they just got rid of him, and they just basically had Sid Scala as his assistant doing it. It was like because he was that bad. I could say I saw a very small sample size of it. It just went, "This is shit. I'm not wasting my fucking time." And this is me we're talking about.
Yeah, I've got another theory on this as well. Tony Khan, I've just realised what he kind of is. He kind of is to wrestling what Tarantino is to the film world in a way, right? Like, you've got this guy who's like a fucking geek, knows the history, understands the history, engages people on that level where if you understand the history of cinema and especially of exploitation movies, you're going to enjoy his films more. But he's also got such an appreciation of old directors and old actors that he's willing to go and find them, bring them out the woodwork. It's almost like Nigel McGuinness is like the Pam Grier of wrestling at this point in many ways, or the Robert Forster in Jackie Brown or something. There's this sort of different level of engagement and appreciation that you're never really going to get with someone who WWE are going to employ because it's produced within an inch of its life. And I think that's just given us so many different, I'm going to use the term moments, which is overused in wrestling at this point, but moments like this do actually make me feel quite emotional rather than, I don't know, Seth Rollins cashing in again, for example. Yeah,
or someone into the AEW cashing in again, which is I think they're leaning on. I won't bring up my old Tarantino comparison that Matty loves, as I find it, but that's the positive side of Tarantino. I also think you get there's a bit of Russo in Tarantino too, like the shock value stuff that he'll kind of pull out. I feel like that's the other end of it.
Terrible.
Yeah, Tony Khan's more the art house side, isn't it? But he's got those same, he's got that same history that me and you have with wrestling. So it does.
It's like Tarantino. That guy from Wolf Creek who JP loves. What's his name? John Jarrett. Of course.
John Jarrett. Yeah.
There you go.
Jarrett. Of course you love him, mate. It's like Tarantino going and finding him and bringing him into Django. It's like Tony Khan finding, I don't know, I'm trying to think of
Waltz.
Yeah. Or like some obscure indie wrestler that you wouldn't think coming in. Eddie Kingston, I think, is a big one. I never would have predicted Eddie Kingston coming in like that.
And being a gigantic success.
A.R. Fox.
Yeah, that's guys.
At the lower end,
yeah. Could have had a better one than he has, but with that said, I say that a part of it is that he's showing a new audience. This is one of the old masters. I'm going to make this new younger audience appreciate him. What did you make of the match, Joe? When it comes to seeing Nigel at this point, with the handicap of he doesn't wrestle as much, and I think it affects kind of the speed of some of the transitions and the back and forths in this match for me. It didn't take me out of it. But I also felt like they used that as a positive a bit because it almost felt like the story of the match was that Nigel was trying to keep up with Zach. And in the end, the finish comes out of nowhere. But it was because Zach was better. Nigel looked like he was rallying. Nigel was hitting some of that big offense, like JP mentioned there, that was getting a bit of a reaction. You think he's on a run. He's not really because Zach's just that bit better. And the Premier League team's going to, 9 times out of 10, put the First Division team down. And that's pretty much kind of what it felt like here.
I thought he got more comfortable as the match went on as well, if anything. And I think if you've got someone like Zach, and Zach can do that with someone, you think about the age some of these older British wrestlers could go till as well. If you're doing that kind of mat style, I guess you can do it in a sort of. I guess it doesn't take that kind of level of athletic ability in the kind of way doing a high spot match.
Yeah, that's Johnny Saint. He'll tell you.
There you go, exactly. So I thought, in terms of what they actually put together, in terms of actually giving something different as well, I thought that this card was full of variety. It was something else that stood out on the card as well. And I just appreciated seeing Nigel there, if anything. And again, like you said, Daniel said, I think made the match even more enjoyable, and the way he was explaining stuff as well, and the way he was kind of going through some of the sequences as well. That got me much more into the match as a result of that as well. But no, I thought it was an absolutely fine match. Matt, you sort of go 3.5 stars on, and I think that's kind of the ceiling for what Nigel can do at this point, which is absolutely fine.
It was an exhibition. Like, I would have, I think, all nostalgia aside, I might have taken a match with the IWGP World Champion with a little bit more doubt. I'm not saying we've had that in the past, because Jack Perry was the challenger last year, or was it the year before? So I'll take it. I'll take it over that. But still, that was my criticism going in. This could have been one of the matches that had a little bit of doubt to it, because there wasn't much in this card that did. But that aside, like, it was just fun to watch. It felt like a match that they maybe planned to do before Zach won the IWGP belt. Maybe Tony Khan didn't know that was going to happen and always had this in mind as a dream match on the card, and that's why it felt a bit odd. But yeah, I wouldn't go higher than that either. I'd go maybe I'd go 3.75 on it, just from like a personal enjoyment standpoint. But yeah, exactly what it needed to be on the card, and the crowd seemed to enjoy it as well. Got a few comments here in the chat. Chris Elliott saying Travolta in Pulp Fiction is Tony Khan's Sting.
Good shout. Thinking that.
And the Asking is Michael Madsen. Any guesses for that?
That's a good one. Someone who's been there
Billy Gunn.
No, mate.
See, I was going to say Jericho, so I'm glad you said Billy Gunn took the heat.
After that bloody ear spot in the main event, I turned to JP and Cooper and said, they're going to put Stuck in the Middle with You on in a minute. Maybe it's John Moxley, potentially.
Good work, yeah. I could see that. The same kind of rugged kind of bloke. You could see him taking those types of roles. I always thought Moxley could be in films. That works. But there we go. You and say in the chat there, he found the match engaging as a match live, and thought Zach's bumping was great. Yeah, Zach gave him loads. You could tell. You could see it in the post match as well. Like, it meant a lot to Zach, didn't it, being out there with him? And yeah, it was a surprise. I agree with you, JP. The Garcia stuff. I just wouldn't have done it if you weren't doing the turn. Presumably they're doing something with it on Dynamite or Collision, and presumably there's a Garcia and Nigel McGuinness program coming. Otherwise, it's a weird MacGuffin, isn't it, to have Garcia there with the towel playing fucking, the Hart family on the outside. It just felt a bit weird. But I assume it's coming.
He needs the heel turn. Let's be honest. Because he's just treading water at the minute, not really doing anything, not really being used. There's people injured. There's different slots. You just think to yourself, is there anything they can do with him? And it's just like, well, it looks like it's going to be a heel turn. To be like, well, okay, maybe that change of the coat, different coat of paint will be the thing that helps him.
Does he want it though? I've never been convinced that he it just doesn't exude that kind of energy of showing. Like, we're talking about Kyle Fletcher earlier on, and I get that. I see that desire in him. I sound a bit like Roy Keane talking about desire in people, don't I? But
these young players.
Yeah, I don't see it in Daniel Garcia. Like, I just feel like there's a bit of. It sort of feels quite disconnected from everything.
It's been a bit chicken in the egg, hasn't it? The booking's been bad. But then has he done enough? What number attempt will this be? Whether they've been good or bad attempts, there's been attempts to get him over in the past, and it hasn't really happened, has it? It will be another go at going with Daniel Garcia as a heel. But who knows? But yeah, Sophia says in the chat, she says it was the weakest match on the main card, a waste of the IWGP. I don't think that's a controversial take. I think if you don't have that investment in these guys as wrestlers and that history, I get that, for the IWGP belt, GP belt, like that was one of the aces in the hole that you've got even with New Japan and the state it's in 2025. That belt does mean something, and I can see that point as much as
it sort of speaks to what the card was as well, though. I think. Yeah,
that's it. Speaks a lot, and a lot of that blame comes where it's under Ghetto and under his watch over on the other side as well. Oh yeah, last year was Naito and Mox. I forgot because I was thinking of All In. I don't know why, but yeah, obviously I was at Forbidden Door last year and saw that. That was a funny match because I was there live in as we talked about, Joe, the Long Islanders arena in New Jersey, outside of New York, where I watched that one, and I was tweeting about it and putting messages, on the Discord. I was going, you won't believe this spot that's coming up next with Naito and Moxley, knowing that the stream was going to be a couple of minutes behind, and it would just be, it was pathetically bad. One of the worst matches I've ever seen. So yeah, not a great history, the IWGP belt on these shows, but maybe they could do better with it in future years. But speaking of belts and speaking of controversy, we had up next we had the Hate Syndicate versus FTR versus Bro Dido in the three-way tag title match, which we did get corrected, JP, on the weekend show on Friday that this was an elimination match because that's what the graphics said. And then it turned out they just quietly dropped those graphics, and we'd find out why very quickly when it came to this match. As not only were the Hate Syndicate not jobbing in this match, they weren't going to be anywhere near the job, as they were fucking in the back in the shower by the time the finish happened in this one. This was a mess. I think some of the early work was good. I think FTR particularly looked good in this one, looked motivated. Bro Dido, we've applauded them, as a team that have gotten over, and it's nice to see that, isn't it? And it's good, good to see them both getting a decent spot on the card. Nice to see them, I guess, win the belts, even though it feels a bit out of nowhere, but it's the circumstances behind it, isn't it? Not only was like the booking clearly there, we can say now, to protect Hate Syndicate or protect their feelings or whatever it is, but also it was executed terribly. Like everything about it, from like the chair shot almost not being caught by the camera, to ricocheting the lads unmasking for some reason, to literally Bandido falling over during the finish and kind of over rotating on the pinfall, and the ref stopping his count. Everything about it was a mess, and I did genuinely think there was 15-20 minutes of good work that came before it, but that's not what anybody was thinking of post this one.
No, that's the problem I have with this one. I haven't gone back and rewatched this one, partly because at the time it was just like these feelings of confusion that happened. First of all, when the lads came out, and it's like from where we could see, where we were sat, we couldn't see that it was like they were wearing sort of like New Japan tracksuits, and then it's GOA who feel like that's the tag team.
Who did you think it
they want to feud
was the
with.
part of your brain going, oh, it's Evil and the lads? Oh, it's, what could you have thought,
Who, well, that's it. It's like, it's a shit show, the New Japan Tag Division, and has been since time immemorial. So, like, fucking hell, who could it have been? I mean, it was, and this is the thing, it just, up to that point, it was fine. I like Bro Dido. I don't have an issue with this. Like, in some ways, I don't mind tag teams that are just sort of thrown together. I've got a soft spot for the Ricky Starks Big Bill tag team that won the tag belts. I thought they were just like an interesting, novel way. I don't mind side teams like this being introduced into the mix, but it was just like, first of all, that interference just sort of left me completely cold. Then, like you say, it was just the stuff in and around the finish, and it was just like, and that just was like, oh, this was shit, and we can't even blame that on Hurt Syndicate. Really, it was just a fucking mess. And so that was my main thought, that coming
to
out.
To Ewan's point
like,
here, totally agree. The book does stop with Tony Khan. Like I am someone who applauds wrestlers standing up for themselves and wanting to. Wrestlers should want to win. Wrestlers should want to be the champions. Wrestlers should maybe, to a point, not want to lose, or not want to lose under certain circumstances. I will back that. However, that doesn't mean I don't think also the promoter and the company should kind of go, well, sorry, lad, you're losing. Sorry. You're putting them over. So again, I think a big positive of this match is putting over Bandido is hot right now. Brody King is hot right now. Like tying into their momentum and giving them a title win is a really like on the ball. We had this plan, but we're gonna go this direction. There's a positive to that. Like that's genuinely like something to be applauded. But if you're gonna do that, you got to go the whole route. If the whole point is, that Hate Syndicate have gone over everybody and had this long tag title run and been this dominant team, like surely at the end of it they put someone over and they haven't, and it just makes you think. Like if Tony Khan doesn't put his foot down here, is he gonna put his foot down when it comes to like Swerve getting his win back against Lashley? I guess Swerve being out long, shortish term. I guess when he comes back, maybe we could get back to that program, but it makes me think when that was just one and done. That was just literally what it appeared to be on the night that Lashley pulled rank and went over, and we've gotten it again here. Like, I just don't understand why you can't just tell people, I'm your boss, you're losing. Like, is it not that straightforward?
Even if you're giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying, well, actually what we're going to do is we're going to play into these stories and we're going to make it look like that they're refusing, so we're having to come up with these sort of reasons. They're not good reasons. No. They're reasons, but they're not good reasons ultimately. And it just the fuck ups with the finish, with just things that just left a really sour taste in the mouth.
It was hard.
Where we go from here, where we Hurt Syndicate, Gates of Agony, couldn't really give a shit, to be honest with you. They're like fodder. I mean, even if there is a storyline reason that they have with even then, it's kind of weak. They never followed through on it, and he was just being choked out. It's like, which in wrestler terms is like giving him a cuddle, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even like think too much about that. Then it's like, well, who's it likely to be if it's Brodito facing next? Possibly the Bucks. Like, that might be a direction to go in. And then you've got FTR, Edge, and Christian. Now, that would suggest to you a tag team division in rude health, but it really isn't. It's just more like these are things that we can do with them, but the way they're getting there are not the most exciting ways. And like I say, I'm more than happy to give Brodito a chance. I don't have, because I like them both. And Brody King is over. Yeah. And
FTR might beat them on Dynamite in a couple of weeks. Like, that might be
it might wouldn't surprise you. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise you at all.
What were your thoughts on this one, Joe? Were you aware of like the reporting and stuff around Hurt Syndicate going into this?
Yeah, so I'm not fully up on all of the actual like intricate details of it, right? But I know that obviously they're not doing jobs, it seems. And there was a whole thing with MVP and Mike Bailey, and they never obviously sold for jet speed. But it's a shame because I do sort of like the Hurt Syndicate, and I've liked them a lot. I've liked them a lot more than I thought I would when I found out they were coming in, because to me, Bobby Lashley has always been a complete joke, defined by Donald Trump as a wrestler, in my eyes. And actually, the most I've ever enjoyed him. And Shelton Benjamin's actually been like quite good in the ring. Probably the best Shelton
Same
Benjamin
for me, with Shelton.
2005, maybe. So it's a shame that they just seem to be being complete dickheads at this point and not really wanting to work with people in a sort of professional manner. But what did Tony expect when they came in? Like, what's actually happened that's actually caused them to be such dicks about doing jobs and putting people over? Was there a conversation about that in the first place? Shame, because the match was pretty good, and then shenanigans, and there we are.
Finish.
So, and then I was confused because there was a whole thing about being an elimination match, and then it wasn't. And like, what has actually happened? Is there anything else that I don't know about that I've not gone over there?
No, nothing's come out. I mean, part of the story was that FTR, the Hurt Syndicate didn't want to put FTR over. And we've seen that, like, in plain sight here. And like I said there, I almost wonder if they still want to do FTR versus Cope and Christian for the belts, but this is in a couple of weeks, they then beat Brodito, and we go from there, which would be a shame for them, but that's just the state Hurt Syndicate leave this tag division in coming out. But there we go. As a match, good. And do you share JP's praise of Brodito, Joe?
I think pretty solid for sort of throwing together tag teams. I've never been a
very
big
PWG team.
Yeah. I've never been a big Brody King fan, if I'm honest with you, but I've kind of enjoyed him the last few weeks in the tag team, and I kind of hope they keep him together as a bit more of a kind of long-term tag team who do singles matches, because I think there's something to them they add to the tag division. I think there's potential for them to have some matches with other opponents as well that could be quite entertaining. So, no, absolutely fine as a tag team. But I'd rather see a longer, maybe a couple of months reign, just to kind of them be transitional champions, because then it kind of highlights the Hurt Syndicate being dickheads a bit more as well, if anything, doesn't it? Does anyone know where MVP was? Has there been any report on that at all?
People have speculated that it's some kind of like criminal record thing, but I've seen him for TNA in the UK. I saw him on a Manchester house show a few years ago, so I don't know whether there'll be more to that story as well. Probably found out the result and got as far away from it as Shelty B and Lashley did in the finish here. But yeah, very odd one.
The other thing I don't understand is where does not doing jobs get you in 2025? Because, like, let's be honest, if you're an AEW, wrestling fans in AEW, male wrestling works. Like, it's not 1997 at this point. Like, I just don't sort of get it. Like, I sort of get,
especially once the word is already out.
Yeah, I get sort of maybe being a bit selective and maybe sort of protecting yourself a little bit. But
yeah, that's my line.
This goes beyond protection. It just feels dickish at this point.
Yeah. Well, there we go. There was that. Oh, I didn't mention as well before the match we did get. That was where we got the Jamie Hayter return, which she seems to exclusively do on these big UK shows. Big pop for her though. Good to see. And Queen Aminata standing tall as well here against the Triangle of Madness. But yeah,
Great to
I've
see
enjoyed
some-
it. I'm sure that music went off live.
Great to see some Southampton-based representation on the show, Ben, and that's all I'll say.
Well, speaking of which, over to the next match here, and we had Kazuchika Okada versus Swerve Strickland in a match where, I don't know, I feel a bit, JP, in previewing this, felt very much like the low man. I just felt like it's been well built in the tick boxer exercise, in that, like, if I booked it on EWR, TW, we've done all the segments we should do, we've got it to where it is, but none of it's really grabbed me as far as like chemistry goes, whether in promos or in previous times they've worked together. I've not really seen it, and I felt like I was a low man going in and coming out. Yeah, it achieved something. I guess it's a positive that, you know, obviously if Swerve's taking time off, that one, we got over a returning Michael Wardlow that we can get into, but two, Okada went over him in pretty definitive fashion. You know, you probably want to do that too if you're saving for down the line. Maybe they can do a rematch and Swerve does a little bit better. But as a match, it didn't really get out of that first game for me. It was a very 6-7 out of 10 type performance, which is kind of, for me, what this feud has been all the way through. I don't know if it was more enjoyable in the building, this one, but this was, like we've talked about, a couple of disappointments on this night. This was a bit of a disappointment for me.
Well, we were having the chat about this in the city, and it felt like Swerve was putting in a shift, given the injury issues, of just trying to like drag this up to a higher level, and Okada just really wasn't playing as much ball. That was the conversation we had, Joe, wasn't it? It was just like, Swerve's really, really like pushing himself here, and Okada's just like, no, we are kind of going through the motions for it. The result never felt in doubt for me, just given the reports and everything else that he was going to be taking time off Swerve. So you just thought, well, yeah, you know where this is going to go. It just was done in a way which I wasn't really enthused. I was never bored. I wasn't like falling asleep or sitting there going, oh, this is shit. It was
I quite enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah. And I watched it back, and I had very similar thoughts. I thought it was a good match. I thought we gave 4 stars, I think, if anything. Like, I thought it was one of the better matches of the night, and I think there was a bit of expectation around it. It felt like a reasonably big match. But Benno's right. I had skepticism going in. I thought chemistry issues, and I think anything with Okada at this point, I just can't get excited about. Like, I just feel like, I don't know, it felt like you had 2 central midfield players here, and you had one who was putting an absolute shifted and working his arse off, and the other one could be fucked. And the other one was actually having to do more kind of runs and cover more ground because everyone could be fucked. Maybe a dated reference, but one you'll enjoy, JP. A bit like when Roy Keane had to play alongside Veron, and you could tell he was getting pissed off with Veron. And maybe there's a Veron quality to Okada in the fact that maybe as best years are behind him, he's got a big payday to Man United. He comes along, he doesn't really do anything and kind of doesn't really fit into the system. And it almost feels like he's being protected to a certain extent. And Swerve was going full Roy Keane with how much he was putting into the match, if anything. Like, I thought Swerve worked his arse off and didn't get what he deserved back from Okada, if anything. And it just feels, I don't know, that's my problem with Okada. I feel like Nakamura, when he went to WWE, knew that was it, and he knew that he was on his last legs. And we got that one match with Sami Zayn, and then we got a decade of just lazy bollocks. And it feels like Okada has it in him still, and the ability is there, but he's so selective about what he picks and chooses his spots, and maybe quite unmotivated as well. And I don't know I don't know if the value that Okada brings to AEW outweighs the negatives at this point. I can't work it out. I'm not saying that he's a negative influence, but he's always going to be put in a position where he kind of has to have a belt, because otherwise it feels like there's nothing you can really do with him. And it just feels like you've got to look around and for him. But I don't know, he's not kind of giving back in kind. And this was a kind
He's not paying off the investment, is he?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He doesn't excite me, put it that way now.
Well, you mentioned earlier on about who the 1 and 2 in the Don Callis family are. The name that's missing from it, and I think for good reason, is Okada.
Oh yeah, fuck.
I think Takeshita, I think Fletcher. I don't think Okada's there. He's a champion.
True.
It's apparently the second most prestigious belt in the men's side of things. You wouldn't know at times because it's difficult. It's just like everything is built so much around reputation of just like this guy has had this, and there comes a point where that golden era of Okada gets further and further into the distance, and you're left with the reality of what Okada is like these days. And he's someone who, God, you're wrestling in front of just shy of 20,000 people, and you just get the impression of just like, I'm still going to put in what is the minimum level that I need to put in for a show like this, and he'll do it.
Nakamura?
Yeah,
give me that.
Nakamura. And I've seen the argument going, well, all the other guys all the older guys in Japanese wrestling from All Japan and New Japan have, various kind of health issues and whatnot, and they've decided to hold it back. And it's just like, yeah, it's some degree of effort though, considering how much you're being paid for the privilege of this. So it never hit the level that I didn't actually ever think it was going to hit. It's just it's interesting to note that the guy that we're praising in this is the guy who's wrestling on a bad wheel, who's been doing loads and loads of big matches for the last couple of years, whose star is on very much like solidified as a main event star. And the other guy with all of the big reputation, it's just like he can't be asked.
But then I guess at the same time, JP, Okada has reached the zenith of his career, really, hasn't he? And Swerve hasn't. And that was so evident in what we were seeing here. But it just feels like he's got more in him. And let's be honest, it wasn't like Okada's style was ever really high risk. Like, he did like really well-structured, well-paced athletic matches, but he wasn't taking like Kabashi Misawa style bumps, was he? Before they, in Misawa's case, ended up passing away in the ring, or in Kabashi's case, he can't walk now. So I sort of get that in Japan, there's this kind of, and I learned a lot about the culture in Japan where you never retire. Apparently, people just do not retire. And if they retire, they might become like a cleaner after their office job. And they're doing these ridiculous like drinking sessions after work with their bosses and all sorts. When I was listening to this, I thought to myself, now I get why Nakamura got the fuck out of Dodge and went to the beach and basically cashed it in. And I was thinking, Okada's kind of doing the same but not in as blatant a way. But if you compare his pop at Wembley last year, which was huge, he's one of the most over people in the building, to what he got this year, like there was a big difference. And I really think they've been stupid by taking away his entrance fee as well. I think that's really kind of, I think that's
it's his favorite band apparently, but like it sounds like shit. So sorry, mate. You get it, but it strips away the aura, like everything else there. Like Sophia's saying in the chat there, like even you look at like a Naito to his faults, or a Tanahashi, like in worse shape than Okada, but like I felt more interesting, especially Tanahashi than Okada has the last while. There's an element, it's the personality side of it too. Like it really does feel like his aura has just been sapped from him during this AEW run, and that's the biggest worry of all. Like Simon saying there in the chat, like what's the end game to it too? Like we're investing all this in him, we're letting him have this long title run, we're putting him over a Swerve, which in practice is good booking, but what at the end of it? Like what's the money at the end of it?
You put him over Swerve, you put him over Omega, and you put him over Ospreay at this point. So you put him over three of your biggest stars, and their star still outweighs his star and will continue to outweigh his star because they put the effort in and they want it. Whereas this guy isn't that bothered, let's be honest with you. So I don't know, there's got to come a point, I hope, where Tony sort of goes, come on, mate, pick it up a little bit. Or he starts having him lose. And I wouldn't be that bothered if he allowed his star to wane a little bit, because let's be honest, Okada's not drawing houses, is he really? We've done the Omega match. It was pretty good. It was never going to be as good. They're not going to draw a house now on an Omega Okada match because the genie's out of the bottle. So at this point, if he doesn't start picking it up, I would actually start pushing him further down the card.
The only interesting thing he can do is be him and Takeshita. And in many ways, the perfect time for them to have that match is if they decide to do a show the day after Wrestle Kingdom. And they have that as their like selling point on there for a Japanese audience. That might be of more interest.
If he'll get on the plane this year. That's the other question, isn't it? Like, again, because it's Forbidden Door. It's a show with New Japan. It should mean something. That Okada is on essentially a New Japan card, and it's not even really part of the build or the conversation. No. Clearly, there's something going on there too as well. So we're not even making it interesting by doing that. It's just Yeah, and like I should say as well before we move on, obviously Mig Carter, Ewan calls him there in the chat, and yeah, Platt makes a good point. Like he's very much he's boosted by Tony Khan being that old school New Japan fan and giving him the respect that a WWE don't give to Nakamura. I think that's the one thing that's carrying him now. But we're talking a lot about Okada and his run, but the positive coming out of this match surely is the start of another boom period with old Michael Wardlow getting the post. We're using the crowd like questioning what was going on in front of your eyes and who that was.
Why on this show? Why has that happened on this show?
There's a few little weird booking calls on this show, but that was one of the big ones where it was just like, why has that happened? Like that just feels like someone's hit random mode on TW or something like that. Why now? Why, like I say, Wardlow's been gone for 18 months, and here he is. We're trying again.
And doing what? Joining a stable that has now, frankly, just too many people. Particularly within the queue, and I was thinking, oh yeah, there's no Trent Barretta or Mark Davis here, and there's two other guys that you could include as technically being part of this family. Certainly in Mark Davis's case,
a small country. John Pollock referring that stable to it, as in, yeah, it pretty much is, isn't it? It's the population of a small country, the Don Callis family.
But like, what do you do with him? Does he just become a heavy for them? It's like, well, they've already got one in Lance Archer. They decided he's of an age he doesn't need to wrestle, so. What we're going to do is we're just going to have him be the heavy on the outside for Don Callis, and I thought, well, that's fine. That kind of works. With Wardlow, it's like, well, what exactly are you going to be doing here? It feels just like quite a lazy fit more than anything else. Considering there is, if you wanted to go down that direction, certain people like an MJF, you could have him reunite with. There are routes you can go down that at least play more into a story.
Or you could have 18 months ago.
Could have, yeah, exactly. Chris says here, like I think that all this depends on when Gladiator's going on to Amazon Prime. At that point, we'll have a better idea of like, oh, okay, this is like, is he a featured part of Gladiators? Is he going to be their version of Legend? Like, if he is, then like maybe they're deciding, okay, we need to get him on there, need to get him in the TV, so when he does come out, he's there and he's ready to go. But then it would make sense to just have him debut the week before Gladiators is coming on, or as close to that sort of time for him coming on there. So I don't know.
Do you think there's some cross-promotional thing going on here then, JP, to sort of help that Prime relationship to some extent as well?
They have, but it's all complicated by the Miz being around the fucking place as the host.
Yeah, being the host.
Like,
oh, is he? Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Weird,
Desperate.
Daddy weird.
God, is that better than Bradley Walsh's son? I'm not sure.
Oh, anything's better than Bradley Walsh's weird son where they're like flirting on camera. That's the most uncomfortable Saturday night viewing
Alex
possible.
Scott and Micah Richards should have been the presenters of a new Gladiators.
Yeah, agreed.
Perfect.
Micah Richards in particular. Oh my God, he's born for that.
And New Gladiators was good. We were always raving about that.
Oh, yeah.
And Micah Richards could have done a Wooga. And he would have been like, he would have done it tongue in cheek, but he would have got away with it.
He would have, yeah.
There you go. I don't know what the Wardlow football equivalent is. If Picard is the aging defensive midfielder, what's Wardlow? Is he Tyler Dibbling? No, he's not worth 40 million. Joe.
Say it again.
He's not Tyler Dibbling. He's not worth 40 million. I'll give you that.
Oh, no, he's really not. He's someone who's probably he's been on plenty of loan moves and it's just never going to happen, basically. And they keep shipping him out and saying he's going to be good. And it just never happens. He just sort of falls away.
He ends up at every promoted team every year. It's like, we need another centre back. We'll get him.
Yeah, he just sort of falls through the divisions.
Like what Andy Gray was back in the day, and he just get transferred for. Not Andy Gray, the former commentator, the guy who played for like a Burnley and whatnot, get transferred for $1.5 million, score a goal, and then just go to another newly promoted club. And you're like, why are you paying money for this guy? You don't need to. He's going to fail there. You must just get him.
Brogues a good one.
Oh, Brogues is
good
for great shout. That's absolutely perfect. Yeah.
Michael Brogues, there's your title for the show as well. But there we go. That's that one, which takes us into what I thought was another one of the disappointments of the night as well. Tell me if you felt differently in the building. But Tony Storm and Athena, I thought it was pretty good. I'm not even against Tony Storm going through the whole women's division. I think like you alluded to earlier, Joe, she's that big a star in this division. The division should be about her. We were shocked that, obviously going over Mercedes, we thought, a lot of people thought it would go the other way, but I was quite happy for them to keep the Toni Storm train running, especially now as a fully formed babyface like she does. And it felt like she got the reaction like one of the big stars on the show as well. And Athena's been, I've been hot and cold on Athena in this role. I like the work. I haven't necessarily loved the promos and stuff like that, but yeah, I felt like these two getting in there would maybe be a notch above what it was. And to me, it was a pretty straightforward Tony win with a lot of bullshit at the tail end of the match as well. Maybe that's what took it down a bit. Wasn't bad by any means for me, but yeah, this was one that I was very much looking forward to on our preview, JP, that didn't quite live up to on the night for me.
Yeah, it was. You probably just got. It was fine for what it was, and when I was watching it, I thought, yeah, this is fine. Like I say, there was the bollocks at the end with Mina Shirakawa and whatnot, but it doesn't feel like they've kind of like they don't know what to do with Athena on main roster AEW. Ring of Honor, they've known what to do. Just have her as this killer champion who wins like week after week.
To the point where we were all complaining about it, go and get her on the main roster, and then now she's there and she's Challenger of the Month.
That's it. It's nearly 1,000 days for that Ring of Honor women's title. I was here. I was like, oh my god, not far of that. They got a fucking pay-per-view next week, for God's sakes. Like, I mean, I might struggle to watch that, but like, it's one of these things where like you see it and you think, okay, there are much more interesting things they could kind of do with it. And I was I didn't mind a lot of the build necessarily towards this. The match itself, it felt more like, I suppose the comparison I would say is like when Toni Storm wrestled Mariah May in Australia, and it was a good match. It was never great. It was never touching great. But what they wanted was the Toni Storm entrance and the Toni Storm character, and you got that.
But you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they got a better match in them as well, and it felt like they left something behind as well. If anything, like,
maybe that's what I'm feeling.
Back a little bit of points, if anything. I thought it was absolutely solid for what it was. I thought the word was generally fine, but I think they've definitely got a better match in them. Whether that will be next month, I don't know. They'll go back to it that quickly. But with Athena, I sort of wonder if her and Billy start to set up perfectly for the women's tag titles if they introduce them. They seem like they'd be kind of natural champions to kind of establish them, if anything. Athena's got some presence. She's got that star quality, if anything, as well. I mean, you'd maybe have your three main stars of the women's division with those belts, establishing them, getting them over, if anything. So, I don't know. Let's see if she's being saved for that.
Maybe. But you had any other notes on the match itself, JP? Sophia saying she liked the match, like the pacing of it.
Like I say, I never thought it was bad. Like, I mean, it didn't drag. It wasn't like this got particularly dull at any stage, and there might have been at that stage the slightest bit of fatigue, perhaps from a.
And it felt on the short end for me. Like it didn't feel like it went much over 10. It was like less than 15.
At this stage, it did feel like they were very conscious of that curfew time and how much time they wanted to give to those top two matches. So this one was one that. It went 15 as opposed to going 20.
It looked like it went 16, actually. Yeah, that's surprising.
I will say I don't understand the criticism of saying, oh, we need to take the belt off Tony. Why? Unless you've got a reason and a direction you're going in, don't just make that change. And Sophia's right. Like, they're looking for her to be like this generational star of the women's division. And so
this is what a push looks like.
It is what a push looks like. And it's a push that has worked and has been deserved. And has had, critical and commercial success. And, she has improved so much from when we would see her back in the day. Like, it's not even just a different human being altogether. So, yeah, I'm fine. Like, if you don't know what you're going to be doing next, keep the belt on her and then just try and build up who the next challenger is going to be. Whether you go with someone like a Tekla. I don't know. And I'm always very wary about the pronunciation. If you decide to go in that direction next, because she has she's taken on all comers, and that's including like your Megan Baines as well, and defeated her. It's like there's still some people she could go through in that division as well.
Yeah.
And Willow. You can always go there. Now I'd be all right with that.
She's always perennially over as Willow, as she was on the pre-show here as well. But that takes us into a match I've been desperate to get your thoughts in as we get to the business end of the card, following that with Hangman Adam Page versus MJF, the true main event if you're not counting the lights out, because lights are out, so it's not an official AEW match. This is allegedly the real main event of the show here with Hangman and MJF. One of those moments watching the show back where I was definitely jealous of you guys in the building and just seeing Hangman come out. I assume he was fresh off his trip on ScotRail to Aberdeen. I think he must have got a return ticket.
I've been on that train.
That particular weekend show, trying to work it out. It goes right to the building, does it? Goes right to the Hydro?
Yeah, like Paisley by it. Yeah, my union conference was there a few years ago. So I went then, and also went to see Robbie Williams there a few years ago, my wife as well. When we were
people say you hate Scotland. What's that about?
Benno, I've spent untold time in Scotland because all of my wife's family are bloody Scottish. I've got some stories, I tell you. Not fit for the podcast. Another time. But yeah.
So you hate Neil to Will Cooling. He hates Scotland, not Joe.
I've got nothing against Scotland at all. I cheer them on in the football, but laugh hilariously when they fuck up. E.g. Hungary last year with that last minute. I was watching that with my wife's dad. And we were both, in all fairness, we were both pissed at ourselves. But no, I've been on many a ScotRail train. I was there just in July, actually, at a wedding in Edinburgh. Had a lovely time. Beautiful time. Edinburgh's a lovely city. Some great pubs in Edinburgh as well. It's got some big recommendations if you want them. But also spent some good time in Glasgow. And have travelled to the Hydro on the same train as Hangman Page. So as much as I'd have liked to have been on the same underground that CM Punk was on a few years ago, this was quite funny when I saw him get off that train. Because straight away I thought to myself, I know where that is. I've been there. Did you notice
Imagine being one of them people.
Did you notice
stood watching them?
Advert in the background as well?
Oh, no, I didn't catch that.
Right, so when he gets up, there's a massive Tesco billboard in the background with a tomato on it. It says something like juicy or something. I thought to myself, is that like a Biggie Smalls reference there? Is Tony Khan a rap fan? I don't want to get that in the shot.
If he was, he probably cut off in the year 2000, which is the right place to cut off.
Absolutely. But then when it opens with them talking about Greggs as well, I was thinking ScotRail, Tesco, Greggs. This is like the most British American wrestling show, like maybe ever at this point in time.
Proper leading into the Irish. Even Mercedes was getting into it. She apparently loves British food now, according to her.
Pickled onion monster munch.
Loves the Greggs too, into it.
Pickled onion and beef monster munch. I can't choose between them. It's a real toss-up, that one.
I like the spicy ones, the red ones.
That Flaming Hot, Benno.
Flaming Hot, yeah. They're the best ones.
Solid, but they're usually the ones left at the bottom of the packet if I get a 12-pack. But usually the beef and the pickled onion go first. I could have done with some pickled onion monster munch or some beef monster munch at 2 a.m. in Victoria. Couldn't you, JP?
I'd have killed someone for a pack of pickled onion monster munch. I really would. I'd have fought Beast Mortos for the right for pickled onion monster munch if he turned up with Mercedes Monet.
It's a fight I'd like to see.
Yeah, it's not a fight I'm winning unless I'm fighting absolutely filthy all the way, which I would do. Let's be like kick him in the balls and hope for the best. There you go. Hypothetical fight between a man who's much bigger and much younger than me. Who would win it? There you go.
I think Mercedes loves a flat iron steak as well. Yeah, I did see that coming out. Chris Elliott goes beef spicy, then pickled onion. Yeah, I think maybe I'd agree with that. I can always go for a good beef. But anyway, Hangman and MJF, they were both over. That was the point I was going into. And you could tell that, by the way, from Martha Hart's awkward promo earlier in the night, where she was trying to get the crowd to pick a side. But yeah, obviously, Hangman, massive babyface. MJF still got his supporters. Unfortunately, I think that's the hangover from 2 years ago's All In that we inexplicably, now 2 years later, have to look back on as the original Wembley main event of Adam Cole versus MJF in a comedy match. But we're still living through the punishment since that date. But felt big time, felt like a big time match. And the point I want to put to you both, like, it felt that way. Felt like a main event for at least the first 25 minutes of this. Like, I was into the drama. I could leave my brain at the door. I've seen a lot of complaints about, the DQ step and, Hangman using tables and stuff like that, despite, the fact that he could lose the belt on a DQ. We can go into all of that. That didn't necessarily bother me. I was into it. I liked it. It was, the setup for the table spots and such was quite elaborate. There was a lot of drama in there. Unfortunately, it became a three-way match with Bryce Remsburg for the last 5 minutes, and they completely lost me. But at that point, it felt like people were more into the building. So I wonder if there's going to be that hard split. But this was, I mentioned disappointments on the night. This was, in the end, a big disappointment for me. And that, I say that as someone who really loved the work for the first 20 minutes or so and really liked, even like the way this card was structured. I liked that you had all your big guys in the last 4 matches. And I include Tony Storm in that. I include, obviously, Hangman and MJF in that. I include Swerve in that. It felt like great progression. And it felt like, here we are, a proper main event match. But they really lost me in that closing bit. I don't know if it came across a lot better in the building. And if either of you guys has got a particularly strong thoughts on this one.
Oh, we were talking about this at the time. I'm very much with you. Like, first 20 minutes, I was really enjoying this. And I was able to kind of like throw my, brain out the window and just say, we're going to get some nonsense spots and things like this.
And they don't call DQs in AEW for much, do they? So like, you can leave your brain at the door a little bit, even if you did push it.
It was the rope break. It was the leg on the rope and the inexplicable move by Bryce Remsburg, and it just lost me. And then when
he just passed out, it was so fucking weird. Like,
we were like, what the fuck's going on? Because it's not like it filtered its way through. We didn't have commentary that was able to kind of like disguise over it. So you're like, what the fuck has happened? And then Mark Briscoe runs out. And then rather than Mark Briscoe being able to do something, pretty soon he's just sort of ushered to the back.
Yeah, why didn't he point it out? I heard someone else say that. I was like, yeah, that would have made sense. Maybe that was the plan.
Yeah.
And also, what did those 4 security guards he knocked out, like, what did those other 2 that stopped him, what did they have that those other 4 security guards clearly didn't have? Like, they made him like a complete mug. Like, it didn't make any sense. Like, they've not...
Well, they weren't TK Cooper and Chuck Mambo, were they? They're the ones who got knocked out. They're the ones who bumped.
Oh, was it? Bloody hell. Of course they bloody were. Good old Winston. But I just don't understand what they've done with Mark Briscoe the last few weeks, because he was so over. And then really, since All In, like, they've kind of not really thought about how to protect him and lead to that MJF match, if anything. But I think, Benno, I think you summed it up perfectly. I thought the match was really good. At this point, I thought it was the match of the night. I would go as far as to say it was one of the best MJF matches that I've ever seen. Like, I think, along with maybe the Ospreay hour-long match, the Bryan hour-long match, I'm trying to think of other MJF matches that I would rate so high.
Well, it's interesting because way back when you were on the full time on the pod, like you were the low man, I think, on MJF, when all the rest of us were seeing him as like the next big thing. Yeah,
I could see the star potential, but I think I just found him annoying, and in many ways, I do still find him really annoying. And I think if you lean into MJF isms and allow MJF to have, I don't know, sway backstage in his storylines, you're going to get another potential Adam Cole situation, because we all saw how that ended up, and it basically affected him and Adam Cole and the whole faction, whatever they're called, Adam Cole's in. Sort of, I've still been there feeling the remnants of it now, if anything, because it was just so bad. And I just fear that there's a little bit of MJF being able to creep in here as well. And I think some of the promos, some of the overthought stuff, that fire spot last week, which was just, come on, like, read the room, like, use, I don't know, lighter fuel when you're in the, like, I don't know, the hate of the hate feuds. Like, Swerve and Hangman are allowed to do it. Don't let anyone else do that. Protect that. I just don't understand, like, his perspective on stuff at times. And it feels like he's his own worst enemy. And I felt that,
too many ideas
as well. Like, what is going on with his ego, where he had to get a visual pinfall and he had to get, like, I don't know, a 10-second wait between the referee, maybe more than that, realizing. I mean, it makes the referee look like a mug, because could Hangman not have put his foot on the rope in the intervening 30 seconds or so where Bryce Remsburg was knocked out? So the whole thing then makes no sense. It gets worse kind of reception as a result of that, and it doesn't help MJF's corner. And also, it's not 1990. Like, Hangman Page is not the Ultimate Warrior. You're going to be fine long term. I felt this with MJF before as well. I remember talking to you about this last year, Benno, in the Ospreay match at Wembley. MJF has been a dick at points. Like, there were points where he was clearly trying to sort of not help Ospreay in the match and lead to Ospreay's hope spots not getting over as much in the match. And he was kind of working it like a bit of a dickhead. not a lot of people seem to pick up on it at the time, but I do think there are real egotistical problems when it comes to some of the ways that he does work at times, because he's so paranoid about protecting whatever falsity he feels like he's got to protect. And as a man who seems so well read and versed in wrestling history, a lot of this stuff doesn't end very well for the company that you're in if you go too far with it. So it feels like it needs to be reined in at times. I don't know if Tony Khan's paranoid that maybe at some point he'll bugger off to WWE if he doesn't get his own way. But yeah, it's really fucking annoying and took away from what was otherwise, I thought, an absolutely excellent match, a big time main event, and was worked like that as well.
And that's the thing, like we've been saying, haven't we, JP? It's like even down to like the feuds he's having. Like in theory, I enjoyed the idea that, oh, he's feuding with Mystico, and he's feuding with Mark Briscoe, and he's feuding with Hangman Page, and he's got this Hurt Syndicate thing going on. But I think we said it even when we were high on it. You also can't trust the fucker, because like, how is he going to manage this without it blowing up in his face? Because it's gonna turn out he's got more ideas than there is practical time to pull them off. And we've seen that happen. Like, he's not involved in the Hurt Syndicate stuff anymore, presumably because of something that's gone on backstage there. They did, like, lean into it a little bit with the Ricochet run-in, so maybe that comes back around again.
I think that's happening, yeah.
The Mystico feud's, though, kind of been forgotten about. Like Joe said there, the Mark Briscoe stuff was very good, and then it's kind of been lost in the shuffle of the logic of all of this. And now, like, yeah, the Hangman thing, like, for me, his role here was to be, this match should have been about Hangman Page. This is Hangman Page's first big-time title defense as the world champion after beating Mox. So his first title defense, you want it to be strong, but you want it to be about Hangman. And it was strong, but it wasn't about Hangman. It was about MJF. It was about his bullshit. It was about 15 minutes of cramming in all of his shit ideas. And you're thinking about MJF at the end of it and not necessarily thinking about Hangman. And that's why, in the end, I think it's turned out to be a bad call to have him as this first Hangman opponent. I think I'd rather he was just fucking around with Mark Briscoe and Mystico and the Hurt Syndicate law and not also doing this on top. From the start, JP, he couldn't be trusted with it.
No, and I think we wanted to think, oh, maybe he turned a corner because of the beginning of the Hurt Syndicate stuff. That was kind of funny, but it was also like, it was mid-card. So you're like, okay.
It was Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, wasn't it? That's what it was.
Yeah, it was, and it was fun. And you just didn't know the direction to go in. Instead, we haven't had any kind of, it feels like they're going to end up sort of shoehorning it in at some point, but that'll be past the point when it actually would really mean something for an audience. That I think that's the bigger issue. There is a world where the only little bit of interference I would have had in a match like this would be he pulls out the dynamite, that fucking ring or whatever. Mark Briscoe runs down, stops him from using it, then leads into your big kind of like Hangman, like takes it away. Then you get into your closing stretch. And that's all it needed to be, was that. Instead, the lot between the TV and this, they just fucked it for no real reason. Now, it's not like an irredeemable disaster on the front of Hangman Page, but you just got to feel, well, we just need to move him past all of this. And instead, like, but you're left very, like, kind of, it's not like Mark Briscoe came across great either. So, yeah.
And he's still got that title shot weirdly now after what they did on Dynamite to wreck on that. So they're probably doing it again. They're probably doing it all out. I assume on Dynamite, people have seen Dynamite by the time they've listened to this. They've probably gone back to it. They probably set up the rematch.
Yeah. I can't pretend I'm enthusiastic about it, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did it in some sort of stip for All Out. And that's what they're going to end up doing. But yeah, this just left a bad taste in my mouth.
So I thought they did recover it reasonably well with that kind of last sequence they did after Bryce Ramsberg suddenly managed to magically come around and see the foot on the rope. Like, I think that last sequence was pretty good, and Hangman,
the dead eye box shot,
and he kind of got the crowd back as well. And people were desperate to sort of get the shit out of the way because I think everyone was so confused by the Mark Briscoe thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, I want to like MJF more because I see that his star's there and that the ratings are often quite high when he's there. Clearly, there's an audience for him. But when he's so heavily featured in such a prominent position, I think that's often been when AEW's been at its worst, if I'm totally honest with you. And for me, it's least enjoyable. And I sort of feel like there aren't a lot of cynically minded men around him that think on his level. Not that that's a bad thing, but I don't think Hangman Page thinks about his character in wrestling in the cynical, paranoid way that MJF clearly thinks about it, if anything. And I don't know if there's anyone who's really going to get involved at that level and kind of say, "Nah, fuck off, mate. Like, I'm not doing that, or you're doing this for me," and kind of, I don't know, stand up to his ego a little bit and not allow him to do his bollocks.
Yeah. That's it. Like Steph said earlier in the chat there, he needs that editor filter. He needs someone who, maybe if it's not Tony Khan, some kind of alpha who's going to step in and tell him what to do. It's massively missing. And yeah, we've got the cashing gimmick, so we'll at least they did say that in the presser that it's no longer going to be WWE Money in the Bank contract. It's going to literally be, you've got to advertise the match a week out, which again makes me think it's the all out match coming up. But at least there's that positive we can take. I like that better. It's like Lucha Underground, like Platt says here. So I don't know if did you watch any Lucha Underground, Joe? But like that was the big thing there. Darius Cueto would be like, we have like a contract, but I've got to advertise the match. I've got to sell the match. I need to sell, posters up and stuff like that. So tell us a week in advance and we'll sell it. I like that better. I think that makes more sense. And it was too WWE to have, like, when Christian was running around with the contract last year, it was just, it felt like watching Seth Rollins run around with the contract. It's just, it's not very AEW, is it? And I'm glad it's dead.
And like the Money in the Bank thing feels so overdone. And like,
massively,
I don't know, when it happens now, it's like, oh, big pop, yeah, big moment, great, cool. And I just don't want that. I want AEW to kind of set itself aside and, I don't know, be its own thing, I guess. So I do think it's a positive move. Massively. Well, the other thing that got announced here as well before we get to the main event, this is where we did on the show, JP. Tony Khan was listening to you, mate, as they announced Manchester and Cardiff for Dynamite and Collision at the tail end of the year. I assume that got a pop from the Northerners in the building there, and it definitely had me rethinking some of my plans. I think I am doing a visit for around Christmas time. Maybe December 17th might be a bit early, but maybe not. We'll see. Big old arena though, the AO/Andy Ogden Arena in Manchester.
It is, isn't it? It's around 25,000. The co-op. I mean, it's like I won't go through all of the reasons that I've sort of said before, but this is just like a handy little bit of advertising as well. And if Ospreay's going to be sitting it out a while, you want him on your Talk Sports, your This Morning, your Loose Women's. At a push, maybe Jeremy Vine for shits and giggles, and then just.
I like as well, JP, to the point of like, it's something me and you have disagreed on. Like, I'm not so keen, especially if they're doing a Wembley next year. I'm not so keen on doing arenas before that. I feel like you want to save it. I actually think they've split the difference here, and that they're doing it this side of the calendar. The fact that it's this year, I think we'll have. Say it was next March, next April. I think that might have had a negative effect on whether people travel down for All In. I think it's so far away and it's in 2025 rather than 2026. I think actually I'm more on your side now. I think that's the call. It's actually, and it's places quite far from London, Manchester and I guess Cardiff being far from there as well.
That's it. There's a whole, like, this is the thing about, like, when they do a UK tour, there's plenty of places they haven't been to. Manchester was the obvious one. It'd be interesting to see what, like, ticket sales will be interesting, particularly for like a Collision in Cardiff, like trying to kind of like sell that. Like how they price it, because they did overprice it when they did Dynamite there, and then they were forced to sort of lower the prices in order to get the attendance up. Is that going to be the same? Like, if it's a relatively, I would just look at it as like, you don't try and go for fucking gate records at the co-op. Just try and just get a big house. Like,
get all the families in.
Yeah,
get on Groupon.
Do the thing that WWE. Oh yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
We'll all be there.
Absolutely, yeah, God. But also, just it's the thing about like selling this as like WWE. You can't take your family to. You can take your family to this. You can have like a full night out and be able to sell it. So like it did get a pop there at the time. I'm more than happy for them to be doing this as well. I wouldn't go beyond this though. I mean, I thought they might do a full on like arena tour and do your Newcastles, Liverpools, Birminghams, and just go all around. If you're not doing that, at least you needed to do something in the north. And the co-op's big. Yeah.
Massive. So there we go. Christmas. People talking Christmas dues and all kinds for it. Christmas leave starting early for it. Like I say, could be a grapple night out in it too. We'll figure out closer to the time.
No, I think the fact it's Continental Classic as well, that does tend to go more so, because you're going to get a lineup of really decent matches, if anything. Yeah. So I think that's really smart again on Tony's part, thinking that through. And if it wasn't that, maybe I wouldn't have considered going. But if I'm going, I'm assuming that if I'm driving, I can get JP along as well, potentially.
Well,
so
there we go.
with a shotgun against my head, mate.
Say it again.
If the tickets for family tickets are cheap enough, I'd be tempted to go up there with the kids. I'd be tempted to make that like that kind of a night now. Whether or not you can bring babies into it, I don't quite know. That's a whole other conversation that only I need to worry about figuring out.
But to Joe's point, though, the fact that it's the Continental Classic, especially in a period like that, I know World's End's going to be coming out, so I guess it's not that dead. But it is still the week before Christmas, isn't it? Which is interesting time. And I guess Tony, hasn't he said before he spends Christmas in the UK? I'm sure he spends at least some of Christmas in the UK. I think maybe that it's a bit like them running Chicago around Thanksgiving time. I think that's maybe part of the thinking too. But yeah, Continental Classic gives it a bit of stakes at a time of the year where there might not be too many.
Busy, plenty of Fulham games for him to get himself along to around that time as well, going into the Christmas period. So it makes sense that he'd be around there. Although the NFL, like they have games on Christmas Day and Boxing Day as well.
Yeah, true.
He's upsetting some fan base of his at someone's point through all of this. Someone's going to be pissed off.
Well, there we go. Well, we that got announced, and then we went to our the pay-per-view ended officially, and we went to our lights out. Up next, obviously, we had the match that came out of nowhere with our mega babyface team: Darby Allin, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi in his poor knees, which we'll get into with the match against the Young Bucks, Jon Moxley, Claudio, and Gabe Kidd here. And I guess we have to start with the entrances, lads. Did we go to the emotional board, or did we go to the Umbop? I assume you got a laugh out of that, JP, as much as you got a laugh out of them being announced as Rod and Todd. They should have saved Rod and Todd for this. They should have done this here rather than on the collision at the weekend. But obviously an old Young Bucks team here. Umbop got a bit of a laugh out of me.
Big sing along to Umbop as well.
Bigger than Cope.
That happened.
No, and he was into it.
No. But there was enough people. They could just see the joke for what it was, and it was fine. The entrances felt great. They did feel like kind of great for this, and like that one was absolutely fine. But the Ospreay one was just like this. Just felt like if ever they needed convincing that if he is fit for All In next year, you do the Will Ospreay coronation. And it's not even something to be discussed. And also on that point, I thought it was strange there was no announcement of All In at Wembley. I just assumed that there would be.
It's already been announced, hasn't it?
It's already been said, but they haven't said anything about tickets being on sale. Have they? Oh God, I must have missed.
It's official. I don't think they've done the on sale, but I guess they wanted to do Manchester maybe. But no, I'm pretty sure it's official. Yeah, it is. It is because it was official last year, wasn't it? They were coming back for All In, but it's officially Wembley. Yeah. But yeah, they could have done more. They absolutely could. But yeah, to your point on the Ospreay entrance, like it did. It brought, especially considering the circumstances around it. Like it's been a weird pay-per-view cycle. We're losing Swerve for a couple of months. Like you said, JP, we're probably losing Ospreay for the better part of a year. I would hope to see him next year at All In, but like clearly, he knew this was his last dance for a while. But it all kind of came together, didn't it, perfectly to do this big entrance, Joe? And yeah, obviously Alex Winder doing the voiceover for it as well, added to it.
I think it was unbelievable.
That was incredible.
If the real life circumstances weren't what they were, it might have been a bit heavy-handed, this, but it was perfect for the moment, and clearly, like the reaction Ospreay got, like clearly meant a lot to him as well.
Yeah, I thought the montage they played at the beginning as well. Obviously, you're seeing all these old clips of Ospreay as well, and that does resonate. Like I think me and JP would have first seen him in 2013. Yeah, it would have been October 2013 at York Hall, and I guess Tanahashi was headlining that show as well. So a bit weird, him and Tanahashi being in this main event together as well in many ways. And it's a guy whose entire career we've watched. So considering, I don't know, what I've seen him at the cockpit on multiple occasions, in lockups in Wolverhampton, doing mental things in front of about 100 people. Like, it is mad at kind of seeing this and seeing him get this big entrance and the kind of pomp and ceremony as well. And what I love about it as well is that video, it understands the rawness of him and how pivotal and important emotion is in his character and who he is as a person. Like, what I'll say is, I think Tony has really understood that you let Will Ospreay be that kind of extension of who he actually is in real life, and this will work because he feels like a real person who people can relate to on some level. And I think that montage got that completely. The little Alex Windsor touches were really nice as well. The fact that she was actually narrating that, like, just really cool stuff. Like, I don't know if we want to talk about the end of the match now or we want to go back to that, but I've got a theory for going forward. But do you want to come back to that at the end?
For it.
Okay, so when watching it back, I was hoping, well, one of the things I really hope is, first thing, with the whole concern at the end with, like, I thought Omega was great in sequence as well when I watched it back. One of the things I would have done is I would have brought Alex Windsor out as well, and I'd have had a sort of this kind of concerned partner and had it play into that a little bit, because they've not really put them on screen together until that video montage. And I was thinking to myself, what you want in an ideal circumstance, and if you bring her out there, it's going to have that more resonance. You want the end of Wembley next year. You want her challenging for one of the women's titles. You want her winning it at Wembley next year after a year's build. And you want Ospreay winning the Owen Hart tournament if you can make it happen, and winning the title at Wembley. And you want those two, probably with their two belts, closing the show out. And then it kind of plays off what they've done this year. And it felt like with the Moxley angle, the Death Riders angle, they were putting that in place for Ospreay in kind of the best way possible. Like, I can't think of a better pay-per-view closing angle ever. I'm not a big fan of closing pay-per-views with big angles, if I'm totally honest with you. But I felt that one was really earned. And it also felt like it was the end of, like, a series. It felt like it was almost like your Stringer Bell getting knocked off at the end of season 3 of The Wire.
Spoiler.
Sorry, did air in 2003. It sort of had that kind of feel to it, if anything. So if you've got that thought going into a year's worth of booking here, and I hope I'm not giving Tony too much credit, then all credit to him, and I hope it works out.
Yeah, that's my worry with it, to be honest, because, like, for me, maybe it's the fact that I was so into, like, the real life of it, like, that this is Ospreay's sign-off, and, like, you know, you had that moment at the end with him kind of stood in the ring, hands up, kind of like, you know, here I am, I'm done, type of thing. Like, I kind of like that. I like that as the ending. I almost like, it was like the happy. See, that's me. Like, I love The Wire, but I also like a soppy rom-com, or I like, you know, like like a happy sad indie film, like a melancholy indie film. I like that melancholy kind of ending. Yeah, that's. I think because so many of us know that already, and already knew that Ospreay was taking a year off. I think I agree in the execution of it in some ways. In other ways, I think there was a few gaps there. But, like, for me, I don't know what's gained, because I don't trust the booking in a year. Because I think what tends to happen in wrestling in these circumstances is you do your big angle, and then in a year or 18 months or whatever we come back to it, Moxley's going to be in a different position. We're just going to be excited to see Ospreay back. And I don't know how much people will actually be invested in seeing Ospreay get his revenge on Moxley. It'll be a reason for a match. It'll be a tool to get to the match. But I'm not sure it'll resonate, really. And I think that's because of that. I almost think it wasn't worth it. I think I would have taken the plus of having the call it the happy sad ending to the show, and call it like Ospreay, like kind of going out, you know, at the end of it, you know, on his own 2 feet in his own way. That would have been more of a positive to me than doing the angle that I'm not totally convinced is going to lead to money, really, or lead to more money than was already there. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
JP, I don't know where you land on it.
In some ways, I think they wanted to kind of have the cake and eat it. You want to have the big entrance, you want to have the big sign-off, and then you want your angle as well in all of this. The key is him not being forgotten about. Like, there needs to be a charting of his journey from here on out. Whether that's small packages of, right, he's gone to visit doctors, he's in rehab. It doesn't need to be on every week, because that's overkill. But, like, every sort of, like, couple of months, like, okay, he's there. You need to be just mentioned by Mox. Like, I took out Will Ospreay. Stuff like that. Like, so it's not lost in the shuffle. That's the key. You
don't want to feel like when Ospreay comes back, you're like, oh, yeah, it was Moxley that took him out. You want that should be front of house, shouldn't it, if you're going to do this? But I'm not sure it will be. I think just the story of Ospreay being back is going to emotionally resonate enough on its own. I don't know if you need this.
And then it gets into, like, well, do you want him and Moxley at All In? or do you want him defeating Moxley in order to win the Continental, to win the
true,
Owen
actually,
Hart, for things
it's
like that? Like if that's what the goal is at some point in March next year, when Hangman's had a good long run with the title, and they go back to Mox, but that's in order for it to be the placeholder to here, and then afterwards you can get into Ospreay Hangman, Ospreay Swerve, kind of like proper, or maybe defeating a Hangman in the finals of the like if Moxley's champion, then defeating him in the final of the Owen Hart, and then it'll be that mutual respect thing that they had at the last Owen Hart. There's a nice symmetry to all of that. That all sounds great if you can do that and get away with it. It's just at times, and this is where you wonder about those little niggling things that they did on this show of like, you don't want them in that mentality because they'll overthink it and they'll go a step too far. So there is always that fear with AEW doing it, because this is a storyline that if they do it right, this is going to be something that really massively sells. And then you've hopefully got, while all of this is going on, Ospreay selling All In to Britain and saying, I am the guy, this is what I'm going to end up doing, and being all over media, selling this as like a massive show. That's what I would like. I'm thinking to myself, like, that is the way that you would want to do it. I mean, I was having the conversation with Cooper after. He's like, you've got to do him and Moxley. It's like, okay, but there are ways and means you can get to that point. It just has to, like, but then we're talking about neck surgery, for fuck's sakes. That can throw in all of the biggest spanners in the world in there as well. But I think certainly a long break from him appearing on TV outside of the odd video package and being mentioned is the way to go for.
You think about WWE
6 to 8 months.
Yeah, you think about WWE when people had those big long-term injuries. I think about Benoit when he had the neck surgery, and there were sort of occasional video packages on that. I can remember Edge getting one. I think it would be great if we got Ospreay and a montage to Beautiful Day by U2 at some point to hype in the turn potentially. And you think about the reaction in MSG that Triple H got after that. Like, I think there are ways to keep the momentum up. I'd maybe have him on the Manchester or the Cardiff show as well in some capacity, in the way they did Omega in Winnipeg. But then I guess the Young Bucks angle with Omega kind of speaks to your point, Benno, in terms of them booking this amazing angle. And then once Omega came back, the kind of
it doesn't make sense anymore.
Just a bit like weird, and it was like we'd moved on.
Like Steph says in the chat about Darby, same thing. Like, it was like, that makes sense. Okay, and Darby's going to come back, and then once all the pieces had moved, hadn't they? By the time Darby came back, and we were all like, I don't actually want him to be the one to beat Moxley now. Let's go with Hangman instead. Like, it's easy to make these plans, but
I do feel like this is a bit bigger though, and I feel like this is like. I feel like Ospreay is a bigger star at this point and was about to really peak, wasn't he? And I think people are going to be desperate to see it. And I always think with Moxley, you think about Moxley being around the title in AEW, he's kind of like one match away from a title shot, really, isn't he? And I always think there are ways of putting it back on him. But it's like you said, JP, could you do the Owen Hart tournament? And then if you do a year run with Hangman, potentially, you can go back to the Ospreay Hangman thing. I wonder if there's a way of, if there's maybe a couple of different title changes in between that. I think there's something you could do where you reheat Hangman Swerve at some point in time, with maybe Swerve getting the belt at some point. I don't know. And then it going to Moxley. I'm not sure. But I don't know. I think currently I'm invested to and optimistic that they can pull this off. The one thing I would do is I think the Death Riders need a bit of to use another wire quote, Benno, a bit of a re-up at some point and a bit of a refresh. There are a couple of guys just hanging around who I think would be great in there. Like, I think if you can get more Gabe Kidd, great. Someone like Big Bill, I think, is crying out to be in the Death Riders at this point. I think there's so much you could do with him. I know he's good mates with Moxley. I know Moxley's given him a lot when they've been in there before together. I just think it needs something else at some point, because as fine as Claudio
I'd like it to not exist in a year. That's my worry. That's what you'd struggle selling me on. is like us being back in the same position of Moxley's on top and the Death Riders behind him. I'd like that Big Bill association, but in a different incarnation of Moxley, where it's something completely different. At which point, like I say, I'm not sure this angle would be needed. I think, you know what it is? It's like Ewan says there, he's got Ospreay beating Moxley in the Owen and then faces Hangman at Wembley. That, you know what that feels like to me? The run to WrestleMania 12. It's like Owen Hart took out Shawn Michaels, but getting back to Owen Hart wasn't the point. Shawn beats Owen Hart, you know, pay-per-view before WrestleMania, but WrestleMania is about Shawn winning the belt. That's the actual story. That's where the actual emotion and comeback is. It's not about the heat, which is kind of what this angle was. It was very much heat, to put heat on the heel. It was more about the babyface climbing that mountain and beating Brett. Like Hangman could beat Brett. I'd be into that. But you could have your cake and eat it too. You could do Moxley on the way and pay this back as his first program. It all depends on when Ospreay's back, doesn't it? It all depends on that.
And if he's fit, I think either work, to be honest, and both feel if they can get to it.
No, fair. It's a worthwhile conversation because that's the thing as well. Obviously, we'll talk about the match, but I think there were little bits in that post-match angle as well where they lost me a bit, where it was like, you know, the heels climbing the cage, but the babyfaces just couldn't figure it out. It felt like Joe and the lads coming out was badly timed, like they weren't supposed to come out at that moment because they kind of just run up to the cage and were like, oh, this is high, innit? And then just stood there. It's just like, I feel like I've seen Darby Allin climb this cage multiple times during this match. What are we doing, lads? It just felt like the timing was a bit off as well. But yeah, I would have gone with the happy side ending, but obviously they went with that there. But it came, you know, post a match that, I don't know, looked like it was a laugh riot to see live, Joe, like as far as like, you know, the mayhem that was here, and obviously Darby Allin was a star among that with getting Gabe Kidd to dive off the cage with him. We got some fun Tanahashi spots in there. Kota Ibushi looked the most like Kota Ibushi he looked in a while, even if he was still a couple of steps off with Kenny Omega in there. Like, I don't even know where to start with this. Like, what were like the big moments and the match for yous live there, Joe?
Yeah, I think it was my match of the night. And I think as far as these type of multi-man matches go, I think AEW have kind of mastered these. Like, I think that, again, this was up there with that the Anarchy in the Arena match this year in terms of it just being a fun time that the crowd are with throughout. And actually, for this point of the night, when the show had gone long, this was actually the perfect type of match. Yeah. Like big spots, signature spots, creative spots, wrestlers everyone's familiar with, people everyone's invested in. Like the match itself, when it was announced, I was like, wow, I'm looking forward to that. That looks wild, but also random as fuck. But actually, it's kind of randomness sort of worked at the end. Like it was kind of great seeing. There was a point where it felt like Darby was being missed out of the kind of group shots. And there were points where they were doing kind of like poses where it was Ospreay, Tanahashi, Omega, Ibushi, and it was like, fucking hell, that is some lineup you've got there, right? That's some photo opportunity. And actually, in terms of each guy getting to star in the match as well, standing out the match, it was awesome. I thought the Young Bucks were absolutely amazing this match. Like, I don't know if they're getting credit too much, but I thought they really held the kind of structure of the match together at points as well. Obviously, they're specialists in these type of multi-man matches as well. But you could see that in there, if anything. I think they're actually having a bit of a banner year on the quiet, to be honest. I don't think it's been a really kind of standout year in terms of them kind of playing up there, having great matches or anything. But I think on the slide, there's been some unbelievable work in there this year. But no, I thought this was a really, really great match. I'd probably go about 4.5 stars on it. All the big spots hit, all the big spots connected. I think you've moved Ospreay on that little bit. I'm hoping they've set a few matches up. There was that spot where they did Golden Lovers and the Young Bucks. That's a match I really think they should play back at some point. And I really hope that's a tease for maybe the Toronto show, because surely you would have Omega on a Canada show, if anything. So I was happy with that. I like the fact they gave Gabe Kidd a lot as well. I think if you're kind of going to bank on someone long term, he's got something about him. Like, my wife isn't a wrestling fan, but she saw him on the other day when I was watching Collision, and she was like, he's quite impressive. He actually reminds me, for the EastEnders fans, Steph will get this, Benno. He reminds me of the bloke who's currently working in the Arches for Phil, who's like got some kind of like reluctant drug dealer thing going on. He's got like this natural hard charisma going on that kind of resonates, if anything. I just think play into that. Like there's something that feels kind of real about that, if anything. But no, unbelievable match that I watched back, and it was as enjoyable watching it back as it was live in the building.
It looked like a hell of a time, JP.
Oh, I did. I haven't gone back and rewatched this. It's one I do want to go back and rewatch. It was a hell of a time. And it was also the perfect length. These things can easily go 45 minutes to an hour if you allow them to do that. And I think this is where the curfew, you knew that where the cutoff point was, and that really helped. And it was over 30 minutes? I'll just have a quick check here for exactly how long that it was. Just looking at it on here, 32 minutes. That was perfect. And yeah, it didn't have the whole kind of literally the anarchy in the arena aspect to it, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, the spot I'm wearing my blue velvet t-shirt tonight, Joe, which then made me, I wore that specifically for the stabbing in the ear, which was just fucking horrible. Absolutely horrible to watch. I don't know how it came across on the TV, but it was just like, Jesus, that is
even worse.
Gnarly. Oh, horrific for that. And then taping him to the chair and body slamming him on the chair and stuff like that. It was just like a couple of really gnarly spots.
Yeah, but I thought they mixed that kind of gruesome, kind of disgusting kind of element quite well with the kind of high spots as well, and the big moments in the match, and kind of getting the crowd up at certain points with different things. Like, it was a match of real variety, and they played into everyone's strengths. I also think Moxley, I was hating the Death Riders thing. I think I was chatting to you about this the other day, JP. As soon as the Edge feud ended, he's kind of really picked it up. I thought he was great in this one as well. Like, his kind of general performance level and his character stuff in ring and during his matches, I think has been absolutely excellent recently. I think his performance in the All In match against Paige, I think that's one of the best individual performances I've ever seen in a wrestling match ever, in terms of what he was bringing, what he was doing, his facial expressions, his physicality. And I thought he's carried on that run, and I thought he was absolutely amazing here at doing that stuff, especially watching it back and seeing some of the close-ups and some of the facials in a little bit more detail. Long may that continue if he's going to stay with the company. Because I saw some weird rumor about him going back to WWE, which I think would be an absolute disaster personally. But hey, there we are. But no, fantastic match.
I'm with you on that, in that, it's weird. I'm looking back on it, because Gareth was big on this. Was I just being worked? Because, I hated Moxley for, there was 3 months where he was my least favorite wrestler on planet Earth. And then the last month and a half or so, I've been really into him. And, the lead to, obviously, him dropping the belt to Hangman. And then even now, with this version of the Death Riders, I don't know if he's more motivated or, I don't know, being more creative with what he does. But, he's been great as the big bad now. I feel like if I'd have gotten this 3 months ago, I might not have been complaining as loud, but again, maybe the real work was he was working the smart marks during that time to get the heat on him. But no, I same as you. I'm glad to hear you had a great time watching it live, because watching it at home, it came across through the screen, like you've been said there in the chat, and you guys have said, it was helped by the shorter run time. It was feel good too. Again, that's maybe why I wanted that ending. You got that, at least in the match itself, you got the feel good ending of Tanahashi going over, as Sophia points out here as well. And I love that. I love the Super Friends coming together and going, "Come on, Tana, you can have the pin," and I'm hobbling over to get to the top rope. That was perfect too. At least it was a bit of New Japan on a Forbidden Door, wasn't it? It was a bit of oh yeah, this is a New Japan show as well. Tanahashi goes over on his last UK appearance too. I think they got all of those things right, and all the big spots were right, and the time of it was right. And yeah, there's loads of loads of memorable stuff in there. Sophia mentions the fork in the ear, obviously, as well, which was gruesome watching on TV. I'm not sure how that came across live, but Jesus fucking Christ. It had a bit of everything. Even the comedy from the books I wasn't so hot on with the gummy bear stuff, but it was early enough in the match that it wasn't a huge problem with the tone. Yeah. And it didn't hit the if they'd have done that in the closing stretch, I'd have been mad. But early in the match, it is what it is. And it plays into the daftness of kind of what they are now. It was a bit of a hodgepodge of different kind of things, this match, but that's what the match was. Look at the people who were in it, and you got the result of that, and I think it was positive.
That's what all of those matches are. That's what all those Anarchy in the Arena matches are. They're all built in with comedy, even though there might be these really serious rivalries at the center of it as well, and these sort of more horrible moments they're going to showcase. They're still going to do the daft shit in there, so it's kind of baked into the cake. So I can't find myself getting overly worked up about the gummy bear spot, and people enjoyed it in the building. I was fine with it. I laughed, and then I didn't think about it when the spot was over. other than in hindsight, if I'd known that we weren't going to get any food at Victoria, I'd have run down to that ring and sweeped up every one of those fucking gummy bears, and we'd have been eating them on the coach back, Joe. But that didn't happen. So it was a very like
Ospreay had a few.
It delivered, and it was match of the night, and I think it was like quite an easy match of the night for me. Yeah, enjoyable PWG Anarchy in the Arena bollocks.
There you go. PWG throwback platters with the gummy spot there, and obviously, got a lot of like just interesting interactions between the different characters. Like Chris says there, with like Ibushi and Ospreay stopping Tanahashi from climbing. The lads are stopping old Grandad, ruining his knees and going, "I'll do it." And even though my neck is falling off, I'll go to the top. And Ospreay doing the spot there as well. And obviously, Darby being up for everything as he always is. Yeah, it fit together really, really well. And
that's what I like.
Post-match angle was post-match angle.
If you're a casual in the building, and like you said at the start, Benno, maybe there were some WWE fans here, possibly, based on how you felt the crowd were, I think you're going to enjoy this because it's wacky. You've got these big spots in here, but also there was plenty there for the kind of week-to-week fans, but also the fans of kind of of wrestling pre-AEW as well, and kind of followed the Indies and New Japan for years and years. Like there was just so much for such a variety of different audiences into different wrestling styles, different promotions in there. Like it was kind of the perfect blend of wrestling over the last decade or so in many ways, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I wasn't a big proponent of doing the match at the time, but presumably we were building to Blood and Guts. Presumably that's still a thing. Presumably, Anarchy in the Arena and all those other
matches. I think it possibly, or move it way down the line. I think you could even, I know they like doing it on a Dynamite. I think you could do it on like a Full Gear or something maybe.
Yeah.
Like something a bit different, because you don't want to do too many of these types of matches.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Or I've heard it suggested a lot do the Blood and Guts as a women's match.
Not a bad shot.
Wouldn't be averse to that at all.
Yeah, and show up WWE because their version's going to be coming up tail end of the year as well, isn't it? But it felt a bit last minute and thrown together, but in the end, it was. I agree with you. The highlight of the show. Like I say,
when I've watched the WWE versions of these matches in recent years, they've been absolute fucking shit. Terrible.
No,
it's amazing the level of how much better AEW are at laying these matches out, thinking through stuff, making them consistent. They've kind of they're the market leader, I guess, when it comes to the multi-man match right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, they were shocking those two last year from WWE. So yeah, even if it does take place the same month, it's going to be that bit better, isn't it? So why not? I suppose, especially if you can do something different with the women's division as well, but. Yeah, that was it. That was your main event. We had our post-match angle, and that was it. You were off to the pub afterwards with Powerhouse Hobbs and the lads as well. But yeah, what did you make of it as an experience? Did it stand up with obviously being at the last two All-Ins? Joe, it did, as we said at the top, felt a little bit lesser than obviously being an arena show rather than Wembley, but still looked like a great night out and looked like a great time in the arena itself.
Yeah, it felt like we sort of crammed a weekend into a day, basically. I think the Wembley years, I've not gone for I've had a couple of drinks on the day, but I've had a big drink the night before at the Rev Pro show out in Hackney. Whereas this year it felt like people wanted to sort of meet up, get together. So you sort of crammed it into that short space of time. And it was an intense, fantastic time, to be honest with you. And I didn't expect to go for a drink after the show. So that was quite a nice surprise as well.
Yeah.
And quite a nice send-off to the evening, if anything. But would I prefer to go out in a up-its-own-arse metropolitan craft beer haven like Hackney Wick for an evening? Probably, yeah. But was this a good time? Yeah, it was a great time. Really great time.
Yeah.
But I look forward to Wembley next year and possibly getting back to the Copper Box and Hackney.
Had a brilliant time. And it was brilliant meeting up with everyone. But obviously meeting up with Matty and Gareth, seeing fans, listeners of the show, always great. Crewy and Gary coming down as well. Just a really cracking day all round. Really enjoy it. Even if we're going to be brutal about this and you're judging where does this show fit in amongst a lot of the other AEW pay-per-views, probably slightly on the lower end. But then when I remember, okay, who are the other pay-per-view / PLE companies out there who deliver this stuff? WWE and TNA, and this is head and shoulders above all of that, because like not even close.
Yeah, I think for me, watching it at home without the live bias, and again, I'm sitting here, green with envy, watching everybody I know presume it looked like in the same room, all the Benno's worlds colliding without me there. I was very sad. I'm sure you all missed me. I mean, no one said it, but I'll just assume it that
we did,
the
mate.
case. But thank you, I appreciate it. Didn't brag that out of you whatsoever. But without having that connection to it as a show, I think it was the weakest AEW show of the year. It wasn't bad, but there was nothing. You go through all the matches like we talked about it. I guess main event aside, which again felt almost like a disconnected kind of party match. There was not most of the matches that I was expecting to be of a certain level were of a certain level, and there were a couple that were slight disappointments for me. Like I can't think of anything outside of the main event, which is hard to watch. There's nothing I go over 4 stars on. And when was the last time? Usually in AEW, you're saying about 3 or 4 matches, and I think that's because Hangman and MJF didn't really deliver to my expectations for the last 5 minutes, and to the point, Swerve and Okada really under-delivered, even if that was maybe in the end should have been somewhat expected. Like those 2 matches would on another day be replaced by something else. But again, I'm removed from it, and as a live experience, all the use there looked like an incredible time to be there. And yeah, that's ultimately, I suppose, what matters.
And it's probably a very different card to what they would have envisioned when they started their planning for this. They thought, we're going to have Gabe Kidd in a featured singles match, we'll have Will Ospreay in a big featured singles match, and they weren't able to deliver on any of that stuff. And I think that's the thing where like other bits in the card didn't do that. But then I always think in some ways, rather than judging a pay-per-view by what its best matches, what are the worst matches and how bad are those worst matches? Well, I would say, like, you might argue that some bits of the tag match, a load of that tag match was good. Like it was like even the opener, which I thought was far too long. But you know what? It delivered what people outside of me, i.e. you, Joe, wanted from that reunion, and that's absolutely fine. So it had a bit of everything in it. Had some different types of matches into the mix. Some still managed to get a bit more Forbidden Door stuff into it than what I thought they did, which I was less bothered on. But in the main, like I think they kind of like.
And I think with that concept,
it's a weaker show. It's not a bad show.
With that concept in the rear view as well, I'd like to see AEW get back to the races now. With like, it has felt a little bit like Forbidden Door's coming up. We've got to get that out the way before we do the proper stuff, which is built to All Out and is built to like the tail end of the year pay-per-views. I want to feel like I felt like, not necessarily going into All In, it's the biggest show of the year, but I was so big on the AEW booking in like the 8 weeks before that, and I haven't felt that in the gap between that and Forbidden Door. And again, it's the nature of what Forbidden Door is, but I'd like to see them get back at it. Might be tough with no Ospreay and no Swerve for a couple of months, so we'll see. But yeah, maybe they'll grab me a little bit more and be a bit more invested there for the next lot round. As Andy says here, though, you just went to Bermondsey. Oh, great shout. Love the Bermondsey beer. Yeah, I've done the beer.
You went to the beer mile before, Benno?
Yeah, the BNNO Brewery, not the Benno Brewery, the other one. I've been to a few down that way. It's a great time.
Yeah, no, there are some good places on the whole beer mile. You can even get down to Millwall's ground if you really want to. If you want to start the other end,
I'm all right, I'll give that a miss.
Just going back to what you were saying though about the worst things on the show. Look, I watched a bit of SummerSlam while I was working out in a gym in Seoul at my hotel, and I got to say, I thought it was absolute fucking shit. And when I look at a main event as bad as CM Punk versus Gunther, which I thought was, oh my God, I thought it was so bad. Just an aging wrestler past his best sat on a mat for 20 minutes while Walter tries to get something out of him. Give me this any day of that shite. Like, I can't believe how bad WWE has been as far as an in-ring product this year. And from a booking standpoint, I think AEW is having a pretty great year, to be honest with you. I think it's maybe their best year since what?
No, I'd agree.
2021, maybe? I don't know. I think it's been an excellent year, and hopefully this continues, as flawed as the booking was going into this show. And there are so many holes you can pick.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. It's maybe just the nature of the show coming up, or just the nature of the beast of doing year-round wrestling booking. You've got to have the lesser bit. It can't all be the build to All In, can it? You've got to have little months like this. So again, let's hope they get back at it and post this. But I was going to say quickly, obviously, before we go, I'm going to be talking the British Wrestling Weekend with I was going to say Andy Quilden and Andy Ogden on GRAPPL Live this week. But obviously, you guys didn't make it down to the Rev Pro shows at a lovely hot swelter in Crystal Palace. I think you saw even Quilden and they could comment on maybe needing some aircon next time out. But did you manage to catch any of the highlights of the shows from either day one or day two?
More on day two. I saw Oku Leon Slater, which I thought was I thought it was great, and I also thought it managed to do the sort of like the slightly amdram stuff. It managed to do it and get away with it because the pair of them was just so like good in ring. So I saw that and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And
they missed the peak a bit for me. It was a bit long, that one for me. Like the last 5-10 minutes or so, it dragged a touch. But no, I agree. The work was very good. And
I saw the main event, which it felt to me like when we were speaking about the show, it's like Shah's winning this. I don't think he's retiring now. I think the way that the direction it goes, or direction I think he should go, is heel Michael Oku. Particularly on the basis of how the Leon Slater match ended. You have him taking his title back, retiring Shah Samuels, and then you're doing basically him doing like sort of the CM Punk in Ring of Honor, keeping the title before he goes to AEW type thing. Maybe you could do something along those lines. That would be kind of interesting. But they were in particular the kind of highlights. And I know it was a good weekend for them as well. Yeah, Shawn and Ricky Knight again. Like I think the last three matches are probably like Zach and Zazoya was as advertised. Like I'd say it was better than the Nigel match of the two Zach matches on the weekend, and it also had again its own like emotional moment at the end with the Zazoya off to presumably WWE, but off somewhere anyway, and leaving Rev Pro, so you kind of got that emotional moment. But I thought that was again, it was a long card, but a really like strong, for the most part, last three matches. Like I say, Leon and Michael maybe missed the peak a bit, but was very good. And yeah, Shawn and Ricky Knight Jr. Like for me, I think I was more leaning towards Ricky going over, but obviously with him being announced for Noah, maybe should have more seen it coming. I know it's something you were very invested in, Joe. The idea of Shaw getting this last one, it was a bit like match we've just talked about. The execution of the finish was maybe what was missing there, and they maybe missed the moment a little bit for that third epic match of the top three. I don't know did you manage to see it in the end, Joe? I know you were very very invested in the idea of Shaw.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What an absolute legend, and someone I've always loved always a great time live, always a great live wrestler, always gave you something, always entertained no matter what he was in, tag team or whatever, always good on smaller shows, on your cool shows as well. So I will give it a watch. I was fully intending to watch it, and then my wife got home early. And I thought, you know what? I'm recording this evening, so I'll turn this off.
So you watch Crew versus Chuck Montika Cooper instead, I see.
So I managed to watch that, and fuck me,
sorry,
that was absolute shite. I
might have been trolling when I told you to watch that.
Oh my god, I had that in the background while I was cooking, and then she got in during Ricky Knight Jr.'s entrance, and I was like, "That's Paige's nephew," and she was like, "Oh, okay." And then we had a chat about Florence Pugh and a chat about Jack Loudon playing Zach Knight and what a great career he's having now. And I thought, you know what, I'll turn this off and we'll put some. We watched Chapel Roan at Reading Festival instead, which was a cracking set, I got to say. So quite the gear change. So unfortunately, the only thing that I've seen from these shows is the woeful Leo Rush Action Andretti versus heel Chuck or Beefeater Chuck Mambo and TK Cooper match, and the terrible promo work that they did at the end as well. But then Benno, the thing I thought was, look, whenever Tracy and Winston get lines in EastEnders, they're bad because they're not trained actors, and occasionally they play into an angle. Phil on the Crack back in the day, Tracy played in a bit there. She got a few lines in one of the episodes when there was a bit where Phil went, "Tracy's my bird now" to Shirley, which was fucking fantastic because I can still remember it now. But Tracy was not the best dance partner during it. So if you give Winston and you give Tracy lines, it ain't going to go well for you. And that's what I saw on that show, to be quite honest with you.
Oh.
It's a shame that that's my prevailing thought from a Rev Pro show, because I love Rev Pro and I wish him all the best from afar. So maybe I will go back and watch some of the better bits of the show, so that I know that they're in a good place right now, rather than in a place dominated by two extras who don't seem to be doing too much. But hey, there we go.
Yeah. It was a bonus match, that one. We got some bonus crew, which everyone in our live chat kind of rolled their eyes at, especially when Southern come out again at All In. Weird that Leo Rush was more over as a singles guy back in the old days for Rev Pro than he is as a alleged pushed commodity on AEW. I guess Collision counts as a push, but no, you should see the last 3 matches. I think that they're worth watching. Yumura JK Gale was all right on the second day, but probably not worth going out your way to see. The women's match on the undercard was good. The Cutthroat Collective 6-person with Mercedes, who's always looks motivated when she's on these shows with Kanji and Danny Luna. That was positive. I will say as well, like, the very classy across the weekend, the Hall of Fame inductions that they did. Obviously, there was the main one, which was Liger on day one. But yeah, the James Castle and Curtis Chapman, the videos, obviously with Quilden, talking to camera as well about everything they've both done, especially, the James Castle one as well. I had a massive lump in my throat watching that back. And obviously the Curtis Chapman one as well. Like, that's just, it's unbelievably sad, isn't it, that we're at this point where, them two are being inducted in the Hall of Fame, as Rev Pro said themselves. Not one that you'd necessarily wish for, but I couldn't think of a better way to remember them both. And obviously, yeah, we're saying, Joe, like, two people who were a massive part of your Rev Pro fandom when you were.
Oh yeah, that's my Rev Pro. I would have seen them live, God, countless times at that point. And yeah, Shah and James Castle, very serviceable tag team.
Yeah,
for a good period there. Always a staple on those cockpit shows. James Castle was always in the Pompey shows. Curtis Chapman, I guess I saw some of his first ever matches. And then I thought, well, he was doing great work, really, wasn't he, before he passed away, and pre-COVID as well, with the whole keyboard warrior gimmick. So real shame. And I think it shows what a classy bloke Quilden is as well, that he's willing to add these little touches as well and provide these little moments as well. There's an understanding again of the audience, of the kind of building the kind of legacy of Rev Pro as well, using its history to a certain extent as well. So, no, smart move and a touching move as well, if anything.
It was lovely. It really was. And yeah, I'd just say as well, on the Global Wars show on the Friday, it wasn't as much to recommend from there, but I'd go with you. And yeah, Jay Joshua and Ishii was a very strong match. And the main event was a fun, multi-person, in that you got to see Shibata, who should have been on Forbidden Door, the prop part of Forbidden Door, rather than the pre-show. To some of JP's booking over the years, you could have definitely done something with him, at least in that moment. But him and Tanahashi being on the same side was a lot of fun to see, with obviously Oku and Mike Bailey being back in Rev Pro. Seeing Cal Fletcher back in Rev Pro was weird. It was like, didn't even compute with me that was the same human being we used to see back in Rev Pro back in the day. So that was good. Athena Mercedes Blaze was solid as well. Yu Uemura Connor Mills was probably the better Yu Uemura match of the weekend. And it was fun to see across the weekend Blue Panther. The singles with Ridgeway, and obviously the multi-person tag as well. It was just kind of, I need to know what that theme is. He's got, it's like a weird old Western song, JP. I don't know what it is, but it gives a nice moment. He comes out, does the whole C thing, gets the crowd going. I think he very much borrows that from Danielson, but yeah, I would have loved to have seen him live, so that was fun. And yeah, they're probably the recommendations, really. Leon Slater and Francesco Akira was all right on that first day as well. You've been asking if you're a fan of Leon Slater, Joe, friend of the show, Leon Slater.
I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a match. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I don't think I have. And also, he's in TNA now, so I'm not going to be watching that. Sorry, Joe. And always will.
Shows the wrong side.
He's an oasis in the desert.
It's a real loss.
TNA is not a side thing, mate. TNA doesn't exist, and it should have died years ago. And is now being used as a bargaining chip to try and overtake AEW.
Now, mate.
Bizarre way, like, come on.
Yeah. But there we go. Maybe Danielson was there in the building watching Blue Panther, as Chris Elliott says there as well. But yeah, like I say, I'll be talking more Rev Pro tomorrow with might be Thursday, I don't know. I need to message Andy on GRAPPL Live this week. Anyway, whatever night we end up doing it on. But yeah, was there anything else? Did you see anything else of the weekend, JP? See any of the other pro shows?
No. That was it for me for the weekend. I'd had a big binge on the Sunday. the Saturday I spent a lot of it walking around Blenheim Palace, doing like family stuff and going to what is a decent adventure playground. Not for me, for the kids. They liked it. Adventure playground's an adventure playground, but it was like they seem to enjoy themselves. So yeah, there is still some bits I do want to catch up on.
How do you feel going to Blenheim Palace, JP? What with your sort of Irish roots and heritage? It feels very sort of
Winston
like
Churchill.
Yeah, like British institution, really, isn't it? Like kind of aristocracy, establishmentarian.
I didn't go anywhere near the big house, near the actual sort of like fancy palace bit itself. I just stayed to the gardens, and then it was like, right, we knackered these kids out enough. Cool, let's go home and get some tea. So that was pretty much how that went.
There we go. That's the full weekend. We'll get the full review.
My dad would have been ashamed. He would have been rolling over in his grave. Like, why not take a piss up against the wall or something like that? But sadly, there was a lot of security about. I wouldn't have got away with that, even for me.
Well, maybe we'll get more on that on the weekend show this week, JP, and we'll catch up with the news and stuff. That Psycho Stu story, we definitely need to talk about it at some point with Rampage's daft son. Yeah, we'll be getting into all of that. But yeah, anything else you want to mention, Joe? Been good to have you there, back on the spotlight, mate. Back in the seat where you belong, mate. It's been a bit of whirlwind of a week, obviously doing the Japan show and having you back here. But no, like riding an old bike, mate. That's what it is. Or does that sound bad? I don't know. Are we the bike? I'm not sure.
Maybe need to put a bit of WD-40 on the chain, mate. Get me going, you know. But big shoes to fill, because I think Gareth does an amazing job on these AEW reviews as well. Don't think my level of match breakdown can compare to Gareth's detailed and in-depth breakdowns that he always does as well. So, no, thank you, Gareth, for letting me step into your quite sizable shoes at this point in time. And it was great to see him and Matty on the weekend as well.
Oh, tremendous.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So thanks for having me back, and pleasure being here. Didn't expect to go 3.5 hours, but, you know, really, shouldn't I?
Yeah, Quilden set the gauntlet, mate, and that's all we're doing. We're paying it off. You had to go longer than Quilden. It was the only way. It was the way it was written in the stars. But no, it's been amazing having you on, mate. It was felt like old times tonight, hasn't it, JP? So
it has
made up. We did it, and hopefully, I'm sure the listeners will be made up with it as well as well the patrons. Yeah, hopefully we'll have back on some more, or at least I'll be trying. We'll hope for those WhatsApp messages, mate.
Well, it's Bound for Glory coming up, isn't it? So
yeah, well, it is that. Yeah. That's the big one. That's the true big one of the year.
Oh yeah.
Is that with the Dudleys versus the Hardys, JP? I'm sure that's a match you're massively invested in, isn't it? Being such a WWE fan.
Fucking hell! How many fucking years the fact that they're still having a match, I find fucking incredulous. But will I watch it? Obviously. There we go.
Well, there you go. And yeah, it's been amazing having Joe back. Definitely deserve credit, Joe. Your match breakdowns are massively up there as well. But if anybody did this, Gareth and Matty, obviously, they did record GRAPPL Lads over the weekend. That's available on the Patreon, as well as more Joe on the free tea. Got Joe in Japan. We'll hear more tales of his trip out there to see the. I say like you went there to watch the G1. While he was there, the G1 happened to be on. We talked a bit of that last week as well. On top of that, obviously, AJ Styles deep cut out there as well, JP, and obviously we won't ask you for this one, mate. We got the Urban Wrestling Federation on Sunday we're covering, so we'll let you have that one off.
Mate, honestly, the Urban Wrestling Federation.
That's what we said.
I will share it with you.
Imagine Def Jam Vendetta, but as a wrestling promotion. That's basically what this appears to be, and I'm so excited to talk about it. Yeah, it looks it from the clips. It looks like it's Matty. I think Matty said he's watched the first couple of episodes and it is hard going. But I think I'm going to get a lot out of it. Loads of rapper cameos apparently in it as well. I haven't seen him in it yet.
Rubin producing it or something.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's behind it. Do you know, JP?
What's the Def Jam reference there? I was thinking because he's often in the front row, isn't he, at WWE shows?
Yeah, true. He is a fan, isn't he? Maybe he was bankrolling it. Maybe I don't think he's officially involved, but. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting talent on this one as well. I'm excited to see.
I will find out the story for that for Sunday. Like what the fuck all that was about.
There we go. Well, we got that coming up, Dealer's Choice next month, and that's it. JP, anything else to plug to shout out there? Plenty available.
It's the usual weekend show, news dump, obviously GRAPPL Live. Where do you get all this goodness? Well, you can get to the patreon.com/grapple. YouTube, you can join us on there, youtube.com/@grapple. And yeah, like and subscribe.
Brilliant stuff. Well, yeah, there we go. On that note, thank you, patrons. Thank you, live patrons, for tuning in with us live tonight. Thank you, Joe, for jumping on with us. Been great stuff. Feels right as well. Anniversary of was it 4 years ago? Punk turned up on a Rampage. It was probably like 3, something like that. So feels very much like that and very much appropriate. So amazing to have you on, mate.
Mate, hopefully it doesn't go the way of that. Jesus Christ.
We'll all end up falling out in the next couple of years.
And hopefully I don't have to sell my fucking soul at some point and, I don't know, do raps and go to Saudi Arabia and act like I'm like the greatest guy in the world by turn up at, I don't know, what, trans protests to try and cover my back and giving money to certain charities to cover my back as well. Because, my God, that bloke. Whoa. Jesus Christ.
Look forward to do the B run. I don't know if that's your Cultaholic run, Wrestle Talk. You'll end up somewhere. Maybe that'll be the next chapter. But yeah, it's sad to see.
I'm almost insulted at this comparison at this point, Ben. I'll say that.
Well, I know I'll go while I'm hot, but no, been amazing to have you there.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Mate.
Thank you to the patrons. Thanks to our Kings and Queens of the Mountain, Coral Laughlin, Eddie Sideburns, Chris Black, Colgack, Sophie Hitchcock, Sam Mulvaney, and Marty Ellis. We will catch you again on the next one.
Bye.
Good night, all. Players out. Rev Joe.
Yeah!